Absolutely. Looking forward to that. Nick, good morning. How are you? Oh, we don't have Nick's audio.
Muted.
Sorry about that. Was not potted up. Excuse me. Doing
right.
well. How are we?
If Rexrode's not here, somebody's got to mute. It's all
exactly.
Good. You're filling the role.
Exactly. I'm doing well, though. Doing well.
Well, appreciate you being here. We got a lot to get into on the show here today. We'll have Caroline Fenton coming up at 7 o'clock. Gentry Estes from the Tennessean at 8 o'clock will join the show. And then, of course, David Poyle, Predators general manager, for his weekly visit at 8:30. So a lot to get into today, and we're going to get into all that and do all that. But I think we would be remiss if we didn't start the show just discussing what a horrible day it was yesterday in our city. And, there's, I got a lot to say on this, so this may take a minute. But, look, it was just a horrifying day yesterday. I mean, it was shortly after we got off the air where the reports started to come out about the school shooting over at the Covenant School and the 3 young children and 3 staff members that lost their life just going to school yesterday. And, obviously I, like everybody else in town and in our community, was watching the coverage, as much of it as I could watch. I mean, there was a point where I didn't really want to watch much of it anymore just because it was hard. And, first off, shout out to the Metro Nashville Police Department and the firefighters and the first responders and everybody that got there in the midst of a horrifying situation and prevented it from getting worse yesterday. I listened to a lot of great reporting yesterday on News 2 and Channel 4 and Channel 5 and Fox 17. I thought everybody did an outstanding job yesterday, kind of covering the story, and from everything I heard from the police department yesterday, it was just it was incredible to hear stories about those people thrusting themselves into harm's way and not thinking twice about it and going in there and dealing with that situation. But it's just a heartbreaking day yesterday in our city, and obviously we've talked about it. I'm about to become a father, and just the idea of kids going to school and not coming home to their family was really difficult yesterday. And look, I know that, and I heard a couple people talk about this yesterday too. I know that when things like this happen, there is a political discourse that naturally follows. I understand that's going to happen. Quite frankly, I have no interest in getting into that on our show. I'm not smart enough to tell you how to think in those areas, and quite frankly, I don't think any of you care what I think about in those areas anyway, so we're not going to do that on the show here today. What I hope and what I will say, though, is what we cannot allow to happen as a community is for these 6 people who lost their life, these 3 young children and 3 staff members yesterday in this shooting. We can't allow them just to become names that happen far too often in things like this. Just names that we talk about for a little bit, and then all of a sudden they just kind of fall into the ether, and they're just names at that point. These are our people, and this is our community, and we got family members of 3 young children and 3 staff members who are suffering unimaginable pain right now, and it's a really, really difficult thing to kind of sort through. And like I said, I don't have any answers. I don't know what the answers are, and I'm not smart enough to get into all that. But it was just a really, really painful day yesterday to watch all that unfold. And Michelle, we're sitting here in the studio right now, and we've got a couple different local news channels on, and they're going through the reporting and just everything that's happened over the course of the past 24 hours. And it continues to be really, really difficult to watch. So I mean, look, we're a sports show. Mm-hmm. We've got to, that's our job. That's what we got to do, and we're going to do that. We'll get into the Titans and we'll get into the Preds and all that stuff today, but it was just a really, really difficult day yesterday in our city. No question about that.
Well, and Robby, I think you put it pretty perfectly, right? We're not trying to have a political discussion here. We are simply talking about 6 people in our community who lost their life yesterday when going to work or when going to school. And, a lot of the videos that have been surfacing, whether it be newscasters, reporters, people covering all this tragic day just around this Middle Tennessee, mean, national news, right? I mean, they're babies, right? You mentioned you're having a kid. I was talking to my mom last night just thinking, she said, Michelle, I never worried about sending you to school when you were a little kid. And there's been so many of these incidences in the last, couple of years, right? I think, when I have a kid someday, I mean, they're our youth, right? We're supposed to protect them.
Yep.
And it's just an incredibly tragic situation. And I think something else you said that was really important is that, every single day that passes, depending how close you are to the situation, you kind of start to forget. But these families and these mothers and these fathers and grandkids who lost their grandparents, that is every single day for the rest of their life that they have to live without one of their loved ones. Their little kids couldn't, finish elementary school, right? Go on to graduate and things like that. So I think it's important too that, as a part of this community, I don't know how to fix things like that, but, we remember these people, and it's just a tough situation all around. But I mean, praying and thinking of the families and everything and everybody affected by that today. And, kind of just watching all the coverage right now. I know it'll be an ongoing story we hear and see about for a while now, Robby.
Yeah, for sure. And look, I've been around this area for a long time. I've grown up here. I was born here, and we've never really seen anything quite like this that happened yesterday. So, but I mean, we've had tornadoes. We've had some really bad things that we've gone through as a community. And the one thing that I love about this place and that a lot of people love about this area is we rallied together well. I mean, I think back to the floods in 2010, and we rallied together, and we love on each other. And that's what we do here in Nashville. And it's important to do that. It's important to be there for these people who are just going through an unbelievably difficult circumstance right now. And I was, my wife and I were just sitting down watching all this happen yesterday, and it was really difficult to watch. And just, you're talking about kids here, and it's, a school that, I've been around here my whole life. Like I said, I didn't even know that school existed. Like I had no clue that was there. And from some people that I was talking to yesterday that are kind of more in the Green Hills area, they've talked about, they knew it was there, but it was just kind of just quiet and out of the way, just a school where people can go and learn. And it's just a really awful, awful situation. And, like I said, shout out to the police department for getting in there and preventing it from becoming worse. But it's just a really difficult day in our city. And, like I said, we're gonna do a sports show today. It's gonna be difficult to do. I mean, honestly, last night I was sitting here putting the schedule together today for the show, and I was like, man, like this is really. It took me forever to get done with it because this is really difficult to do because I don't really feel like talking about sports today, and sports kind of seem so trivial. But yet I also recognize that sports are also, an escape for people of the day-to-day life, and I think that's really important. Like we've talked about this before. Like I think it's important that people have that outlet of sports to be able to focus on other things, and we're going to do our best to do that. It was a really difficult thing to do last night to be watching all this unfold in our backyard, and to be able to try to do our best to do our job as we move forward here. And we've talked about this with other circumstances too. Like it always registers when it happens somewhere else. Like I always watch and I'm like, man, it's just awful. But when it happens in your backyard, I mean, it hits different. I mean, I don't really know how else to describe it other than that.
Well, and even as recent, Joe Rexrode working with us, his son going to Michigan State and that incident that happened not too long ago, and then you're hit close but on a different level, and then like you said, Robby, for it to be in Middle Tennessee and the way it developed yesterday, Chase and I were actually still on the air, and it happened in the last segment, and you're trying to get as much information as possible and be informed in what's going on, and I can't even say enough of how much you just feel for those parents And, I saw so many videos of parents just running to the school and how much you feel for the families and people that lost their loved ones. It does feel weird, to have a sports show today with so many more serious things going on in the world, in our community right now. I mean, especially just the entire tragic situation. But we do understand the fact that sometimes, talking about sports, it's a gateway, and it allows you to, kind of not look at all this so much. And it's just tragic. It really is. And sports can be kind of that getaway for you. But I mean, thinking about the families, I know we'll probably say something on all of our shows today, just addressing it. And obviously, if any new news happens or anything else is found out, we'll make sure to address it as well.
Yep, no question about that. 615-737-1025. We're off and running. And like we said, I mean, our prayers are out to the families and everybody that is connected to this situation in Green Hills at the Covenant School. Just a horrible situation yesterday in our community, and now it's our job as a community to rally around these people. And I know that we'll do that, and we'll do that in the same way that we've always done that when faced with tragedy here in our city. 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Coming up next, we will get into some sports. We'll get into Lamar Jackson and his trade request that he put out there yesterday on social media. Mike Vrabel speaking yesterday at the NFL owners meetings as well. Rand Carthon with some comments. We'll get into all that throughout the 6 o'clock hour today. Take your thoughts as well. 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025 on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The choice is yours, Wednesdays at 8:45. Brought to you by Jarrett Companies. Now hiring experienced sprinkler experts. Go to jarrettfire.com. JARRETT fire.com. Jarrett Companies, a company above and beyond industry standards. Preds fans, Superbook wants to send one lucky fan a pair of tickets on the ice. Text the keyword Superbook, all one word, to 615-737-1025 for entry to win.
Finding great people to hire is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's pretty difficult, right? Well, ZipRecruiter has mastered finding a needle in a haystack, so they take it to the next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot of needles. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
This week's Nashville's best deal is the all-new Hot Works Goodlettsville off Long Hollow Pike. Right now, join for just $39 in time for their grand opening April 1st. That's $60 off at thegamenashville.com/deals. Hot Works offers 24/7 infrared fitness in 15 and 30-minute virtually led sauna sessions. Get more workout in less time at Hot Works. And right now, save $60 on enrollment at thegamenashville.com/deals.
312 Pizza Company is a proud sponsor of Nashville Sounds Baseball on 102.5 The Game.
Bob's Steak and Chop House in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hi, this is Chef Mark at Bob's Steak and Chop House at the Omni Hotel. Looking for a romantic dinner with that special someone? Be sure to join us and try one of our signature dishes, like our Australian cold water lobster tail, flash fried to perfection, and tossed in lemon butter. Did I also mention we've won the Wine Spectre Award of Excellence 7 consecutive years? Come join us for a memorable meal here at Omni and be sure to ask for Chef Mark.
Attending an event downtown? Dine at Bob's Steak and Chop House in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
At Progressive, we love sports and saving you money, so we bundled them together.
It's 40 love here in the third set.
And there's the bell. She's coming off the bench hot, looking for a quick knockdown. But wait, she's driving to the hoop. Oh, down goes the champ.
Now that's another double fault. She'll be shooting too.
The serve is up. And here comes the left hook. She's bundled her home and auto insurance with Progressive. Swish, ace, savings, TKO.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Discount not available in all states or situations.
Want to weigh in on the conversation? It's a brain booster. Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley alongside Michelle Knezvik, Nick Fraser here with you on this Tuesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. We're taking your thoughts, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. So Lamar Jackson, that situation, I guess, took somewhat of a turn yesterday. Now, people are making a huge deal out of this. Lamar Jackson getting on Twitter and requesting, or I guess informing people that he has requested a trade. So Lamar Jackson took to Twitter yesterday, funnily enough, right when John Harbaugh at the NFL owners meetings was stepping up to the podium, which was
timing was impeccable.
Interesting timing on Lamar Jackson's front. But he said, quote, "A letter to my fans. I want to first thank you all for the love and support you consistently show towards me. All of you are amazing, and I appreciate y'all so much. I want you all to know not to believe everything you read about me. Let me personally answer your questions in regard to my future plans. As of March 2nd, I requested a trade from the Ravens organization, for which the Ravens have not been interested in meeting my value. And everyone that's met me or been around me know I love the game of football, and my dream is to help a team win a Super Bowl. You all are great, but I had to make a business decision that was best for my family and I. No matter how far I go or where my career takes me, I'll continue to be close to my fans of Baltimore, Flock Nation, and the entire state of Maryland. You'll see me again." So that's what Lamar Jackson put out there on Twitter yesterday. Now, everybody's making a big deal that he requested a trade on March the 2nd, and I guess I get it, but he's out there and he's available anyway. Like, he's the Ravens put the non-exclusive franchise tag on him, which means that any team is free to negotiate with Lamar Jackson right now. Now, it's going to cost you a couple of first-round picks if you decide to go ahead and sign him to that contract and make that deal. We've talked about that. It'll cost you the money that it will take to get Lamar Jackson, which will be substantial, and the 2 first-round picks in addition to it. But, like, I guess I read it yesterday, Michelle, and I was like, okay, I mean, he's requested a trade, but he's already available. So what kind of – is it really that big of a deal that Lamar Jackson has requested a trade? He's already out there and is available to other teams.
I think it became a big thing, first off, because it's Lamar, and second off, the pettiness of the timing.
That's pretty good.
He's like, oh, I know that they're up there right now. I'm going to schedule this tweet at exactly 10:30 or whenever it was. And then, of course, Twitter went crazy, as it always does.
Yep.
I think also something to mention, Mike Tannenbaum put this out, that the Ravens could take less than 2 ones if they agree to a team who agrees with a contract on Lamar. So that recently happened with Packers, Raiders, Devontae Adams. So the contract, though, that he is asking for, I mean, the Ravens are a smart organization. So I look at this business move when they put the non-exclusive tag on Lamar Jackson. They knew what he was asking for. He probably wouldn't be able to get around the league, and people wouldn't be willing to give 2 first-round picks and then also, in addition, take on a contract that Lamar Jackson is wanting. I mean, you look at the Cleveland Browns and you're like, damn, they really screwed this up for the Ravens and the entire NFL right now, because people aren't wanting to give fully guaranteed contracts like that, let alone to, I mean, a guy like Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes, and they're like, you know what, no, we're good. We'll take the team-friendly deals. We want to win Super Bowls. But I don't exactly know what Lamar Jackson is asking for. I mean, I know there's been reports. I could see him maybe taking not as big of a contract, because I feel like right now he's just like, okay, we've been doing this negotiations for close to a year and a half now. I mean, it started before last season. And you add on the fact that he doesn't have his own agent, so he's in the conversation with the GM and the coach and whoever else is there, and they're basically saying, well, no, we're not giving you that. We want you to be our franchise guy, but That's ridiculous. We're not giving you that contract. So, the Ravens, a very smart organization, unlike the Browns, said, okay, test the market.
Right.
Test the market, Lamar. Let's see if any other team, is willing to give you something like that. And here we are now. No one has said anything. Teams have actually come out and said, nope, we're not interested,
right.
Which I thought was very interesting, saying that they're not interested. And now we're sitting here. He's telling everybody that he requested a trade, but I don't think that does anything for him. And I think it all goes back to, Robby, to agents and why they are so important for players and representing them. And there's a way to do things. And news came out that he had one of his business partners calling NFL teams. And last week, the NFL had to send out something saying, you're not allowed to negotiate with this man who is apparently representing Lamar Jackson. And I look at it right now and I think, damn, Lamar was an MVP, right? He has been good in the league and he should get a contract somewhere. But this is just so messy right now. And I look at it that if a team wants him, they will go and get him. But it's just very messy right now.
Well, Chuck on the text line, I think, sums it up well. He says, the Browns were idiots. The Cardinals panicked, talking about the Kyler Murray contract. Says the Ravens look like they have a realistic view of what these quarterbacks are worth. And look, first off, it's obviously the relationship between Lamar and the Ravens has deteriorated. Now, John Harbaugh got up there yesterday and was adamant that Lamar's his guy and that this thing is going to get worked out and that he's going to be the quarterback. Now, maybe it will, maybe it won't. I think from Lamar's side, he's pretty clearly frustrated, and he's now requested a trade in addition to all this. So in Lamar's mind, he's done. He's not a Raven anymore. I think that's pretty clear. Now, whether or not that ends up happening is going to be interesting. Like, he's been available now for a few weeks. So teams have had the opportunity, if they want to go and negotiate with him if they want to. Now, there is a team that kind of snuck their way in there yesterday in terms of commenting on the Lamar Jackson situation, which we will get into a little bit later in the show, and they may or may not be in the AFC South.
Oh, we will.
We'll get into that coming up a little bit later here in the program, which would be, I'll just go ahead and tell you, be a very Jim Irsay move if this happens, but we'll see what happens on that front. But like the trade part of it, I guess if you're a team out there and you look at the situation like, yeah, I'm not giving him the money that he wants plus the 2 first-round picks to get him. Like, is there a way that Baltimore would deal him for anything less than that? Maybe. Like, I don't know. But, like, if I'm Baltimore, I'm looking at it like, well, it is a former MVP quarterback. We'd like a couple first-round picks for him in addition to the contract you're going to have to sign him. So, like, I guess from the Ravens standpoint, I'm sitting there looking at it like, this guy's still young. Why would I deal him for anything less than the 2 first-round picks it would already take you to negotiate with him anyway? I don't know that I see the Ravens being like, yeah, we know that you guys have an opportunity to deal with him right now and sign him that contract and offer 2 first-round picks if you want to, but we'll trade him to you for like a first and a third. Yeah, it's probably not going to happen if you're the Ravens.
Well, and they already tagged him.
Exactly.
The Ravens are a very smart organization, and I think the way that they're playing this whole situation is perfect because they're in a win-win. They're in a win-win situation. Okay, if a team wants to come and get Lamar, they're going to have to give us 2 first-round picks. I did mention that, if there was, a deal made, there might not have to be 2 first-round picks. But as you mentioned, he's a young quarterback. He has been an MVP. He's still, working on getting that next contract in the NFL. People can talk about their injuries, whatever. He's still one of the top quarterbacks in the AFC, in the quarterback-heavy AFC. So the Ravens can really just sit back and think, okay, well, he's tagged. Basically, if another team wants to come and give us 2 first-round picks and then also take on his contract, okay, that's a win-win situation for us because next year's quarterback class looks great, and if something can't work out, we'll have Lamar as our quarterback next year.
Right.
I guess he could sit out, but he's going to get fined.
Right. Look, you could sit out. He could. But first off, is that gonna help you in your negotiating with other teams?
You already
Probably
haven't played since prior to the playoffs,
and that's costing you. Look, the tag. I understand the franchise tag is not the money that he wants, but it is over $30 million that you're losing out on. You don't play there.
I know.
Honestly,
I'm probably not sitting out.
If he does sit out, I wouldn't be surprised. It might actually help his stock a little bit. I looked at next year's quarterbacks, and it's I think Shedeur Sanders Caleb Williams and Drake May out of North Carolina. So, that's your top 3 if you include Evan Ewers from Texas. So,
you don't have Joe Milton in there? It's disrespectful.
Yes. If he declares, yes.
Okay.
No, Spencer Rattler.
Yeah.
If y'all want to, that's fine.
And Nick's like, what are you guys talking about? 6 a.m. hour.
Keith from Bowling Green on the text line says, I think teams will wait until after the draft to negotiate with Lamar. And that could happen. The price is still going to be the same if that happens. It'll just be for next year's draft and the year after that. But I'm interested to see what happens on that front. Now, if you're the Ravens, you could also just tag him this year and then tag him again next year and then figure it out after that. That's the thing with the franchise tag in the NFL. It gives you options. But, this is a really interesting situation where you've got Lamar Jackson basically waving goodbye to Baltimore fans yesterday at the same time that John Harbaugh's up there on the stage out there at the owners' meeting. He's like, yep, he's our guy. We're going to get this thing worked out.
Lamar's like, I'm trying to leave. And they're like, you can't. Yeah. You can't yet.
Not
you can't.
Do it.
Well, and that's the thing. He puts out this whole tweet, saying, bye, Baltimore. Love you all so much. I requested a trade, but yet you're still there.
It was almost a month ago when you requested a trade.
Teams have come out and said that they're not interested right now.
Right.
And you're waving goodbye, yet you're tagged, and your coach is saying, yep, Lamar's our guy. Can't wait for next season. He's our quarterback as of now. And we're all just sitting here. But that is, I bring it back to the agent conversation, right? That's the way he's telling everybody, hey, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to be out of here, because he doesn't have an agent who can actually call these organizations and be like, hey, here's the deal. Got Lamar. This is what he's interested in. He doesn't have somebody who can do that. So I bring it back to just not the smartest business decisions on Lamar's front. Very smart business decision on the Ravens front.
Yep, no question about it. 615-737-1025. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Coming up next, we'll get into the Titans' Mike Vrabel addressing the Kevin Byard and Ryan Tannehill situations yesterday. We'll get into that and hear what he had to say coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
Want a chance to win tickets to an upcoming Preds game?
Yes!
Tune in to Robby and Rexrode every weekday Preds game day at 8:45 for Preds Pick to Click. Guess a goal scorer and win.
I'll take Roman Yossi.
Matt Duchene.
Pick to Click is brought to you by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Visit tjandersonhomes.com to see why they are referred so often. And by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Download their app today. Preds Pick to Click. We are 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Hey, it's Mike from Newton Nissan South. Have you ever thought to yourself, buying a car online? That sounds like a nightmare. But fear not, my friends. With Newton FastPass, it's easier than catching a leprechaun. In fact, our system is so user-friendly that even a leprechaun can do it. And let me tell you, those little guys are notoriously bad with technology. Also, with Newton FastPass, you're practically guaranteed to get a great deal. It's like finding a 4-leaf clover in a field of overpriced cars. And who doesn't love a good deal? I mean, I'd be willing to bet that even the most skeptical among us would feel lucky to snag a great deal on a new car. That's not all. When you use Newton FastPass, we'll throw in a free leprechaun to help you navigate the process. And trust me, these little guys know their way around a car deal. Just be sure to keep an eye on them because they can be a little mischievous. So what are you waiting for? Visit NewtonNissanSouth.com and join the ranks of lucky car buyers. You might even feel like you're living in your own personal pot of gold. And remember, with Newton FastPass, you're always in luck.
20 years ago, when Genesis Diamonds came to Nashville, this was one of the most expensive cities in America for diamond jewelry. Our radical approach and no middleman pricing changed that forever. And now we're doing it again, this time with lab-grown diamonds. We were shocked to find out what the other mall stores and the other big radio advertisers were charging. They sell their platinum 4-carat VS2 lab-grown earrings for $15,720. We sell them for $6,900. Their 3.08 carat lab-grown round diamond with G-Color VS2 clarity is $10,045. We sell it for $5,900. Looks like they might be going back to the old ways. If they're charging this much on lab-grown diamonds, kind of makes you wonder what else they're selling at the same outrageous markup. Nashville, we are not going backwards. At Genesis Diamonds, our non-commissioned trusted advisors are here to give you all the information with details you can trust and prices you can count on. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Hey, it's Jared for Hiller. Sometimes replacing equipment in your home can be overlooked until something breaks, but there's actually big problems that can come from outdated old vintage HVAC systems. Older systems require more maintenance and results in higher utility bills. This month during Hiller's Vintage Showdown, they're giving away a free HVAC system to the owner of the oldest unit. It's easy to enter. Just go online to happyhiller.com and submit a picture of your old unit. Everybody wins with a trade-in credit and 0% interest financing for up to 48 months on replacement. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Cards issued by Celtic Bank, member FDIC. Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's business cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp's software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 3.5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp for free. Just go to ramp.com/sports. Ramp.com/sports. ramp.com/sports.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game is live and local.
And now, let's meet the starting lineups.
Robby and Rexrode 6 to 9.
You are talking about a team that's building a roster.
Chase and Michelle 9 to 11.
He's still under contract.
It's not always X's and O's.
Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace 11 to 2.
Trades, free agents.
Let's get it going. I think this is a good hire.
And Stillman and Company 2 to 6.
I can give you one of the best coaches in the league.
And don't forget, we're your home for all things Nashville.
He scored!
Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Hey Nashville, it's Max Kellerman, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by Superbook. We are live from our 102.5 The Game studio. Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Cam on the text line says, the only way the Titans could be interested in Lamar is if it happens after the draft. This from Cam on the text line. I mean, I guess that could be the case. I'm not going to rule it out. I don't get the sense that the Titans are all that interested in Lamar Jackson. Now, look, things could change. Like Cam says, you get through a draft and you take a look at your team and maybe you rethink the Lamar situation if he's still out there. But right now, I don't get the sense that Lamar's on their radar.
I agree, Robby. I mean, just based off the moves that we've seen Rand Carthon make and Mike Vrabel make, I mean, they're very cheap. As far as the term, it's very short. Their deals, they're frugal, safe. You're shopping safe with the deals that they have made, and I don't see them going out and giving this huge contract to Lamar Jackson, especially, you add on the injuries, and then you compare that to the injuries this team has had and how that has just been a huge issue here. I can't see them paying all this money to get a guy to be their franchise quarterback who's coming off an injury, who didn't play much of the end of last year. And I just don't see it happening, honestly. I mean, maybe it will. Maybe I'll be surprised. But I look at this offseason right now, and the draft about a month away, of them just making safe moves to fill roster spots, to, build some depth at different positions. Ryan Tannehill is their quarterback. It'll be much easier to move off of him next year. I don't see them trying to make that work. I guess unless, you tried to trade Tannehill to the Ravens. I guess that could be an option and get Lamar in return. It all comes down to how much guaranteed money does he want? And what does a contract like that look at? Hey, maybe he's willing to, take a different type of contract if he can just get out of the Ravens organization.
Hey, look, maybe. I mean, I would have to think with the way that this has gone to this point, I mean, part of the Ravens' strategy, without me knowing for sure inside their building, was probably like, if you think you can get a better deal, knock yourself out, man. Like, go see if you can get yourself a better deal. And if that doesn't happen, I wonder if there's some backtracking on Lamar's part as to what exactly he is asking for. I mean, he may not have a choice, but I'm interested to see what happens on that front. We'll get back into the Lamar discussion coming up next hour because there could be a team in the AFC South that could be vying for his services. We'll get into that a little bit later in the show. Mike Vrabel did speak yesterday at the owners' meetings out in Phoenix, Arizona, and he talked about a variety of different things, but also addressed the Kevin Byard situation that we've talked about, with Kevin Byard reportedly being asked to take a pay cut, and we've discussed the ins and outs of that. Here's what Mike Vrabel had to say yesterday on the Kevin Byard situation.
Under contract, Kevin's a valuable member of our football team. I've said that, his durability and his leadership, and so we'll see where things go. But as of now, there's nothing to report. Communication has been really good. I've tried to make a great connection with him as a player and a captain on our team for 5 years. And those are conversations that happen between Kevin and his agent and Rand and myself, and try to find ways to continually improve our football team.
So that was Mike Vrabel yesterday at the owners' meetings. Teron Davenport out there, Jim Wyatt out there, and Paul Koharski out there as well, shooting video yesterday. So shout out to those guys being out there and covering the owners' meeting. But some interesting comments there. We talked about Carthon yesterday. He said flat out to Jim Wyatt at TennesseeTitans.com that neither Kevin Byard or his representatives have asked the Titans for a release. And then Mike Vrabel obviously addressing that yesterday. Look, Vrabel said everything that I expected him to say. I mean, I think it's pretty clear he likes Kevin Byard and he respects Kevin Byard and the job that he's done. The first thing, without fail, that he talks about with Kevin Byard every time, two things come up immediately. It's the leadership and it's the availability. He talks about how available he is. He's always on the field. I mean, he's talking about, even when he's talking generally about injuries, and we've talked about the callus and bruising comments, or blisters and calluses comments, or the David Long Jr.'s and the Christian Fulton's being called out. Really, the guy he goes to in opposition is Kevin Byard. Knocking on wood, he's never missed a game. So, I think it's clear that Vrabel respects Kevin Byard. But, Corey Curtis, he brought it up yesterday, and I think it's an interesting point. Like, Carthon said that Byard has not asked for a release, which is good. Obviously, that's great. But he didn't say anything about not asking Kevin Byard for a pay cut. And when things like this happen, that can create a strain. And look, Kevin Byard's a great guy. I think he wants to be a Titan. He talked about that at the end of last year. But business can get in the way of even the best relationships in professional sports. And I'm really interested to see how this plays out. If there's not going to be a pay cut, what do the Titans do? Like, I'm really interested to see how Byard and the Titans react to this as they move forward. There's been some downplaying the last couple of days from Vrabel and Carthon, and I'm interested to see if it continues that way, if there's not a resolution that's found in this discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't surprised by their comments. It's very much hush-hush inside the building. But when Rand Carthon said, no, Kevin Byard didn't ask for a release, first thing I thought of was, well, you didn't say you didn't ask him for a pay cut. So I have a feeling, I don't have any doubt that happened, right? But, I look at this situation and I understand that there's a new general manager. But the reason Kevin Byard's cap is so high is because when you were in your Super Bowl window not too long ago and you're trying to get guys like Julio Jones, Bud Dupree, Zach Cunningham to beef up your roster, Kevin Byard had to restructure. And he, in addition to being available, being one of the leaders on the team, being one of the top safeties in the league, here's a guy who has been adjusting his contract these last couple of years so that you can try and go win a Super Bowl. I understand a different general manager, but you add up all of those things, and then his contract is the way it is because of this organization. That is why his cap is so high right now. And then you're going to ask him for a pay cut. It's kind of like, he's like, okay, guys, I mean, what am I supposed to do? I mean, we've already adjusted this so many different times. I'm not going to take a pay cut, first off, because I do everything right in this organization. I'm one of the best players. So,
well,
I mean,
and like that part of it aside, like very rarely are players like, yeah, sure, pay cut. Let's do that.
Who wants
that
to?
works, yeah.
I mean, if somebody was like, you want to take a pay cut? No.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm not trying to, fix my salary. But, to the point you made of, I mean, we're talking about Lamar Jackson. Look at how I know he doesn't have an agent, but look at how that contract negotiation, there's rumblings and things start to get said. And you can look at Aaron Rodgers right now with the Packers and the Jets, right? He's like, I'm just going to go out on the podcast and I'll say my truth, right? And I'm sure the Packers probably didn't appreciate all of that. And it starts to create this drama, this conflict within the organization. And you're right. I mean, we don't think that Kevin Byard is not going to be on this team next year. We don't think that they're going to try to release him or cut him because, that would not be good for the Titans, because I think there's like a $13 million dead cap if they were to cut him. So it would have to be some sort of trade situation, but I'm not ruling it off the table because at the end of the day, it is a new general manager, and I don't know what Rand Carthon is thinking.
Well, like beyond that, like to me, I still don't know that they've really declared what they are, like declared what they're going to be this year, right? I mean, look, they've replaced David Long Jr. They've found Andre Dillard at left tackle. Brunskill has come in. He's probably going to be the right guard. Like they've made some moves to fill some holes. So like it's not like they're just totally stripping this thing down and trying to totally rebuild. But are they all in, for lack of a better term? Like are they trying to? Do they view next year as like, we're in a Super Bowl window, we got to capitalize while Tannehill and Henry are still here? Like, they've not declared that yet to me. I mean, we talked about receiver yesterday. They got like Traylon Burks, and that's about it right now.
Also don't have tight ends.
Yeah, they've got Chig. That's about it at tight end. So, I mean, the picture's incomplete at this point, but they've not declared what they're going to be yet. So, I think for anybody to say, well, don't worry about it, like Kevin Byard's a lock to be on the team, like, I don't know that. And we'll see what happens. I mean, you got to get through the draft, and like I said, anytime these conversations start to crop up, sometimes that creates issues, and we've seen that happen time and time again in professional sports. Both Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel also addressed Ryan Tannehill and his role as starting quarterback for the Titans yesterday as well. We'll get into that coming up next. Caroline Fenton joining the show at 7 o'clock. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Every Wednesday at 8:30. Join Robby and Rexrode for The Choice is Yours.
2 sports questions, 2 non-sports questions.
They'll answer a couple of questions about life and sports. The Choice is Yours is built by Jarrett Companies. You have a choice. So when you have a need for site and utility work, fire protection, concrete and asphalt services, the choice is simple. It's Jarrett Companies. For more, visit JarrettCompaniesInc.com. The Choice is Yours. Wednesdays at 8:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Some people don't do well under pressure. At Northern Tool and Equipment, we do it best. Whether you're spraying down the shop or getting the winter grime off your house, a Northern Tool pressure washer says you're serious about spring cleaning. From an all-electric power horse to a Honda-powered North Star, we'll help you build your perfect cold or hot water package with all the chemicals, attachments, and everything you need for the job ahead. Northern Tool and Equipment. We're made for this. Come see us in store or shop online at northerntool.com.
The team at Mercedes-Benz of Music City have done it again. Here's Edwin Vickery to explain.
4-time recipient of Best of the Best. Less than 10% of the dealers in the country receive this award. How did you do it? We say culture eats strategy for lunch, because we can strategize all we want, but unless you have the right culture and chemistry in the dealership, it will not work.
Live the dream at Mercedes-Benz of Music City, mbofmc.com.
Take your first shot at hoops with FanDuel Sportsbook. Sign up today by going to FanDuel.com/play and make every moment more with FanDuel,
21 plus in select states. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Tennessee, and Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona. 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana. 1-800-522-4700 or visit KESGamblingHelp.com in Kansas. 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming or visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia.
Wendy's $3 breakfast deal is a bacon or sausage egg croissant plus small seasoned potatoes for $3. It's the breakfast that don't miss. So if you did miss Wendy's breakfast, don't imagine fresh cracked eggs, sizzling sausage, crispy bacon, and block out those hot, buttery, flaky croissants. Croissants don't really make a sound, but if they did, for a breakfast that don't miss, Wendy's is that breakfast. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's $3 breakfast deal.
Limited time only. Participating U.S. Wendy's. Select a request $3 breakfast deal to obtain discount. Not valid for a la carte or combo orders.
Wait, aren't these all charitable donations?
At Magda's Tax Prep, every person counts.
I'd rather not have to file for an extension.
She needs new auditors to maximize returns on her family time.
On itemized deductions. Hey, can someone help with these 1099s?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Our hiring platform instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
The sports talk doesn't end on Friday. Join Michelle Knezovic and Junnie Riddle for Michelle and Junnie.
As long as he wants to coach there, he will be able to coach there.
I think that really did save the hope of this team.
Michelle and Junnie, presented by Superbook Sports, every Saturday morning at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
You're locked into Robby and Rexrode.
I had the radio on. I'm listening to
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Join 102.5 The Game for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament, benefiting Souls for Souls, coming up on June the 7th at Hermitage Golf Course. You can put your team together and come play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebs to support a great cause and have loads of fun. Plus, you'll have the chance to win awesome prizes. You can sign up to play, sponsor, or donate at thegamenashville.com/golf. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We'll have Caroline Fenton coming up at 7 o'clock. Get her thoughts on the Titans as well. Right now, taking your thoughts, 615-737-1025. So we heard Mike Vrabel's comments on the Kevin Byard situation. Mike Vrabel also addressed Ryan Tannehill as the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans and whether or not the Titans want him as the starting quarterback yesterday. Here's what Mike Vrabel had to say out at the NFL owners' meetings.
I mean, of course we do. That's we're in March. We're continuing to build a football team, the best football team we can, and Ryan's healthy. He's getting healthy. I would say that he's been putting the work in. It's been good to see him around the building. So yeah, we always expect that. But to make predictions, I think I've been through this last year. I'm not going to commit to anybody being on roster on September. You know what I mean? I've seen it change too quickly. And of course that, we want Ryan as our quarterback, and everybody else that's helped us win. That's what we want.
So that was Vrabel on Tannehill yesterday. Again, shout out to Paul Koharski from paulkoharski.com, to Ron Davenport and Jim Wyatt for being out there at the owners' meetings. But look, the Tannehill part of this, I mean, he's talked about it. Tannehill obviously has been rehabbing from the injury, and he's been around. I mean, they talked about him being in the building. So there was the Vrabel comments on the Tannehill situation yesterday, and Rand Carthon and Paul Koharski took this video yesterday. Rand Carthon with probably the strongest comments yet as it relates to Ryan Tannehill. Here's what Rand Carthon had to say yesterday out at the NFL owners meeting.
I'll be honest with you, like in terms of looking for more language, I don't know what more we can say that can, substantiate what everybody wants to hear or whatever the case may be. Ryan has done a great job. He's been in the building. He went on a brief family vacation with his wife and kids. He's been back in the building, working hard, working diligent. And it's just like in anything else, man. I mean, the guys have to earn it on the grass, and I think that's adding context to what Vrabel said. Like, you can go out and it's very rare that you come into this season with a starting 11 that ends as the starting 11, at the end of the year. So, I mean, I don't know what more to say, what more to talk about. In terms of Ryan and I, we've had multiple conversations. He's in a really good place, and I feel we're in a really good place.
You thinking of Malik as the backup at this point? I know you need a third arm at least for camp, but you think he's in position? You hope that he'll be in position to be the number 2?
Yeah, that's the hope. But again, just like everybody else, Malik's got to go out and earn it. I think Malik's had a great offseason. I think he's attacked it. He's stepped up in terms of a leader. And what that looks like to be an NFL quarterback. I think he's grown. But again, just like everybody else, once we're out officially on the grass, he has to go out and earn it like everyone else.
So that was Rand Carthon, courtesy of Paul Koharski yesterday, discussing the Ryan Tannehill situation. Also said there the hope is for Malik Willis to be the backup quarterback. So, I put those two together with Tannehill, with what Vrabel had to say and what Carthon had to say. And both make it sound like Tannehill's their guy. Like that's what they're saying. Now, they're also both leaving the tiniest little bit of wiggle room of we never want to fully – like Vrabel was talking about, you never fully commit to anybody in March of what's going to look like in September because he's seen it change too often in this league. I mean, heck, we saw last March comments. He talked about A.J. Brown, and as long as he was the coach, A.J. Brown wasn't going to be on the trade block. And then a few weeks later, he got traded. So I get what Vrabel's saying there. Carthon talked about him having to go out there and earn it on the grass. So I get all that, leaving yourself some wiggle room that way. But, I mean, to me, I'm reading into those things as Ryan Tannehill's quarterback for the Titans next year.
Welcome to the media world, Rand Carthon, of us asking about Ryan Tannehill. Yep. Every chance there's a microphone in front of your face. I thought his comment about, well, I don't really know what other language I can use to explain this. And, they're being very uncommittal, which is unsurprising, right? I mean, it is only March. The draft is about a month from today. What this tells me is they're still weighing all their options. I don't think it tells me that Ryan Tannehill for sure is going to be their quarterback. I think it tells me that, he's putting in the work. He's been here, trying to get that ankle fixed up, and Malik has been here too. But I also look at that as, okay, they still could draft a quarterback.
Sure.
They still could, weigh their options if they're interested in Lamar's situation, which I don't think they are, but they still could weigh their options, right? I mean, right now I look at it and I think, okay, this roster has not made any significant, jaw-dropping moves.
Yep.
So I feel as though I'm kind of on the edge of my seat because I feel like something may be coming, whether that's drafting a quarterback and things switch around in that room, whether it's getting off veteran guys. We just talked about Kevin Byard, right? There are a lot of things going on, and with some of the comments and with some of the conversations that kind of came out of the NFL Combine, right? I mean, there were talks about shopping Derrick Henry. However you want to, define shopping, there were talks about it, okay? Sure. So that's coming out, asking Kevin Byard to take a pay cut, releasing Ben Jones, right? All of these things and kind of just seeing some of the older guys move on and almost the turn of the page. I'm not surprised of anything. I mean, I would give it a 75, I think, % chance that Ryan Tannehill is the quarterback.
Yeah, look, the draft part of this is interesting, right? Because, I mean, we talked about it yesterday. I mean, they were obviously at Ohio State's pro day. Now, that could be for C.J. Stroud, but that could be for a host of other people. I mean, Paris Johnson Jr., we go down the list of the Ohio State people that
basically
they could be watching.
Any position you're looking for.
I mean, even I wonder how many people are at Ohio State's pro day to just say, hey, look, it's Marvin Harrison Jr. over there. Next year, looking forward to you, buddy. Yes. But, we know what all that is about. They were at Kentucky's pro day. We talked about the Will Levis part of this yesterday. Like, I think the Titans would be nuts not to at least consider quarterback, right? I mean, I'm not saying you got to take them at 11 overall or move up to go get one, but I do think it's well within reason to consider that. And we've talked about this from the moment the season ended last year of you better take a look at this draft class at quarterback and approach it like that's what you're going with. And if you get through the process and you just don't love a guy or you can't go get him, then fine. Take whoever's there at 11, and whether that's an offensive lineman or a wide receiver or whoever, and go from there and figure out your future quarterback later. But like I'm not ruling out that the Titans end up with a quarterback. And if it's not at 11, like I'm really interested to see where Hendon Hooker goes. Like is that an option for the Titans? Like, so I mean, I'm with you from that standpoint. Like I would not be totally shocked if the Titans end up going quarterback at some point in this draft. Now, do I think it's likely based on where they sit right now in the draft? Probably not. Like, you'd probably have to, if you want to go get one of those guys, you're probably gonna have to move up, would be my guess. But I'm not totally ruling it out either. I mean, then I guess the earning it on the grass part that they talked about would be the nice quarterback competition between Tannehill and
it'd be a fun training camp. Well, I mean, there's been a lot of mock drafts lately that actually have him dropping to like 18th.
Yeah.
So, the way I look at it is, unless you went to Kentucky's pro day and you believe that he 100% is our guy, or you think that, Anthony Richardson is your guy. I don't know. Not my job to evaluate quarterbacks. But, I look at them going to Lexington, going to Kentucky's pro day. I mean, there were 11 guys competing. They went there to go see Will Levis. I can almost guarantee. And if somebody else, showed out, cool, you get a chance to look at him as well. But if he's a quarterback that dropped and they didn't go to that pro day and he turns out to be some, I look at the Bears. They told Patrick Mahomes, yeah, we want to get you. Yeah, he thought he was going to be a Bear. They trade up, they get Mitch Trubisky. I mean, look at how that bit them in the butt. You just don't know. I mean, we can look at these prospects and these college guys, but I mean, I understand why they went there, because Will Levis, I would say, is probably the most polarizing quarterback, but some people view him that maybe he could be the next Josh Allen. So them going there doesn't signal to me they're taking a quarterback, but it opens the option, I think, if he is the one guy that drops. Maybe they like what they saw and they would want to take a chance on him. Or you mentioned Hendon Hooker, right, in the second round.
Coming up next, we'll be joined by Caroline Fenton. We'll get her thoughts on all of this with the Tennessee Titans. What are they doing in the draft? And what more could we see from the Titans as this offseason continues? We'll get into all that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Every day we are live and local.
Most people picked them to make the playoffs before the season even started.
And your source for Nashville sports.
He can still wait for 5 more games before he makes that decision.
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hi, this is Warren Moon, 9-time Pro Bowl quarterback and member of the Tennessee Titans Ring of Honor and Pro Football Hall of Fame. On the field, I always wore a helmet and pads to make sure I was protected. Life is no different. That's why I got vaccinated and boosted against COVID-19. Protection keeps you in the game. Talk to your doctor and get the information you need to make an informed choice. Gear up, Tennessee. Protect yourself and your family against COVID-19 today.
For more information, go to nflagearup.org/Tennessee.
Men, this is Evan Bass with the Tennessee Men's Clinic, and I've been helping men with sexual health issues for many years. I've seen the pain and anxiety that men walk into the clinic with when erectile dysfunction is affecting them. And I also know the heartache and difficulty it can bring to their partner. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we've been successfully treating men for ED for many years now. We've seen the amazing impacts that those treatments have on a man's confidence and positivity. And we've seen the wonderful things those treatments also do for a man's relationship. That's why I'm pleased to announce that we are now offering the same great services we offer at our Nashville clinic at our new location in Franklin, which will make it much more convenient for those men living south of Nashville to get treated. So call us today and book your appointment at our Midtown location or at our new clinic in Cool Springs. Your first visit is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects, treatment, sex, results vary.
We do screen printing.
Music City Screen Prints.
We do embroidery.
Music City Screen Prints.
We do large format printing.
Music City Screen Prints.
We do promotional goods.
Music City Screen Prints.
We do graphic design.
Music City Screen Prints.
mcscreenprints.com. That's mcscreenprints with an S.com. 615-866-6010.
You think it, we print it.
This week's Nashville's best deal is the all-new Hot Works Goodlettsville off Long Hollow Pike. Right now, join for just $39 in time for their grand opening April 1st. That's $60 off at thegamenashville.com/deals. Hot Works offers 24/7 infrared fitness in 15 and 30-minute virtually led sauna sessions. Get more workout in less time at Hot Works. And right now, save $60 on enrollment at thegamenashville.com/deals.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
A gun performance. Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode on Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley alongside Michelle Knezovic. Nick Fraser here with you on this Tuesday morning. And we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And welcome in our friend Caroline Fenton from Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. Caroline, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. You know, it's a tough morning for myself and everybody else in this city, but
sure.
Nashville's a very strong city. Unfortunately, it has had to show that it is a lot stronger than I would probably prefer for it to be, but my hearts are with the family of the Coventry School, of the first responders who saved lives. So it's a hard day, but we will power through. We're tough.
Yep, absolutely. And we talked about that to begin the show, and just our prayers continue to be with the families involved in that horrific situation, and we'll get a little bit more into that later in the show as well. So, Caroline, we were just talking about the Titans and some comments that Vrabel made yesterday on the Byard situation, on the Tannehill situation. Let's just start with Tannehill because, I mean, look, I think he's going to be the quarterback. I'm leaving some room open for the Titans maybe drafting a quarterback, and we'll see what happens there. But what do you make of, like, if you're Ryan Tannehill right now, viewing this team, viewing the opportunity in front of you, where are you right now if you're Tannehill in terms of what this year means for you and how important it is to your future and your career?
It's really tough, right? Because it's easy for me to look at the situation with Ryan Tannehill on the outside looking in and say, oh, well, Tannehill will be probably the starter in 2023, and they'll most likely find a solution moving forward. When you're Ryan Tannehill, that's not as easy to swallow. I think when you're Ryan Tannehill, you need to go into this season, I think similarly how he went into last season, and say, I'm playing for my job. I'm playing for my career, whether that's my job with the Tennessee Titans or whether that's playing for GMs and coaches across the league to say, hey, I can be a certifiable starter in this league. I think that's how you have to go into the season, and I think that's how you went into last season as well. I'm playing for my job. If I have an opportunity in the NFL this year, I'm going to use it to prove to everybody to say, hey, I still deserve to be the quarterback of this football team. I think that Ryan Tannehill, his performance this past season kind of gets overanalyzed in a bad light, and unfairly so. 2 years ago, you can say that this Titan season ended early because of Ryan Tannehill. And I think that sentiment has kind of carried into 2022. But I don't think that's fair. I think Ryan Tannehill had a fine season this past year, and he wasn't the problem. But I think everybody who doesn't watch the Titans on a week-to-week basis would say, oh, it's Tannehill. It's Tannehill. He's turning the ball over like crazy. And I don't think that's necessarily fair. But he's got to go out and play for his job this year.
Caroline, what do you make of the receiver position for this group? Obviously, they've not addressed it yet, and quite frankly, like the free agent crop has been horrible this year, but they still have a huge need at wide receiver. Do you think that they can fix that in the draft? Is this maybe a couple-year fix? How do you view the receiver room right now?
It's unfortunate because if you would have asked me, okay, what's the perfect thing for the Titans to do? I would say go out and get a veteran in free agency, and it doesn't need to be a massive trade for DeAndre Hopkins. It doesn't need to be a massive trade for Mike Evans. Even though I do think bringing in Mike Evans would make your team better, I would look at it and say, let's bring in a veteran free agent wide receiver to kind of bridge that gap between Treylon Burks and the receiver that you draft this year, and then kind of carry into the next year and reevaluate how you feel about your wide receiver room there. So also, I would also, draft a wide receiver, whether that's a guy that you love in the first round, whether that's a guy that you love in the second round. I think the Titans are in a good position now, considering how deep this wide receiver class is. That's something that TD has said several times, that you don't need a wide receiver at 11. You can trade back in the first round, grab a receiver in the early to late 20s. You can grab a really solid receiver in the second round because that's just the nature of this wide receiver class. I would say that would have been the perfect scenario. However, you don't have that veteran free agent wide receiver out there that is really going to be a guy that you bring in and you're like, oh yeah, like that nice move, because there's just a bunch of jabronis in this wide receiver free agent class. So I don't know what the Titans are going to do. They still can bring in a veteran free agent wide receiver, bring him in on the cheap just to have a veteran presence in that room, just to have a guy that's been in the league and has played a full season of football in that wide receiver room. But I do think it can be fixed, if that's the word that you want to use, in one off season, looking to the draft. But if the Titans are only looking to fill this wide receiver room or patch up this wide receiver room in the draft, well, then you've got Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, who is a wide receiver 3 at best in this league. You've got Treylon Burks going to his second season. After his first season, he struggled to stay on the field. And then you've got a rookie who has 0 NFL experience whatsoever. And then you've got, the Kyle Phillips of the world, the Racey McMaths of the world, the receivers that you don't want to go into the season relying on. The last thing I want the Titans to do is to approach this wide receiver room like they approached the offensive line this past year, which is, we'll figure it out. We'll find somebody. We'll be fine. And that obviously was not the case.
Caroline Fenton on with us. Caroline, Josh Dobbs recently signed with the Cleveland Browns. Let's just for, fun, say that Ryan Tannehill, he will be the starting quarterback next year. Mm-hmm. How do you view this backup quarterback situation?
Oh, Michelle, it keeps me up at night. Oh, when I saw that Josh Dobbs signed with the Browns, I was thinking, what in the world? Because it's not like he signed some massive deal and some deal that the Titans could never match in a million years. I'm thinking Josh Dobbs was fine for you. Josh Dobbs is the perfect backup for this team. He is so freaking smart. He is so hardworking. He's one of those guys. I think he's just good in the locker room. And, he was able to come in and start that Cowboys game after being in the quarterback room for a week. So I thought that was kind of a no-brainer. The Titans would bring Josh Dobbs back. So I was shocked and floored when I saw that he signed with the Browns. I don't know what the Titans are going to do at backup quarterback, but if they go into this season with Malik Willis as the backup quarterback, I think that is football malpractice. They made that mistake this past year, and we saw how that came to fruition. Now, maybe Malik Willis behind the scenes is making, these miraculous leaps and bounds forward and is improving as a quarterback like nobody we've ever seen before. And they think he's going to be a good option at backup quarterback, but I don't see it personally. Whenever I think about the future of the Titans, both long-term and short-term, I don't factor Malik Willis into it. And maybe that's more on me than it is on the Titans. I just don't know how the Titans can continue to rely on Malik Willis moving forward when we've seen enough of a sample size in year one to say, okay, maybe he needs a little bit more time, or maybe he just can't help your football team moving forward.
Caroline, looking at this Tennessee Titans team as constructed right now, Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel have made some moves, but nothing long-term, not crazy contracts out there. There's still a question at wide receiver. We talked about backup quarterback, even starting quarterback. How do you view this team? And, as we're about a month away from the NFL draft, how do you view this team currently? And do you think right now that they're currently constructed better than last year's team?
I'll answer your second question about is it constructed better than last year's team. I'll look at individual pieces. The offensive line, I think, is in a better shape now than it was this time last year. because now you're not relying on Dennis Daly to be your left tackle. Now you went out and found an actual legitimate left tackle that you want to fill that position. Now, Andre Dillard, let's not forget, doesn't have any starting experience in the NFL. So that's, or very little, rather, starting experience in the NFL. So that is one thing to keep in mind is, yes, you found a left tackle, but is that going to be – is Andre Dillard going to pan out? You know, you don't bring in Andre Dillard in the same form or fashion as you do an Orlando Brown, for example. So I'd say offensive line is better. I would say the wide receiver core is not as good because you don't have enough bodies. I would say clearing up the contracts of Taylor Lewan and Robert Woods and Bud Dupree, that does make you better because now you're not paying a lot of money to players that you can't rely on. So it's hard to answer that question whenever this roster isn't fully complete. There is still so much time. You have the NFL draft. You have all of these trades and moves that have yet to happen. That's one thing that I want to remind everyone is sometimes I think it's hard to see the forest from the trees, but I'm here to remind you that there is so much time. I'll go back to the free agency grades on ESPN.com this time last year, and post-free agency grades, and the Philadelphia Eagles were ranked 19th in the NFL.
Yeah.
And we know what happened with the Philadelphia Eagles, that they added in pieces, continued to added in A.J. Brown on draft day. So there is so much time. There are so many moves to be made, and this team's going to have to make them. They're going to have to. This roster is not constructed where it needs to be right now, but that's okay because there's time.
Caroline, last thing for you here. How do you think this situation with Kevin Byard ultimately shakes out with the Titans?
It's kind of a bizarre situation, isn't it?
Yeah.
I do think ultimately that Kevin Byard will be a Tennessee Titan in 2023. Playing under what dollar amount, I don't know. I understand the Titans not wanting to play Kevin Byard at this current cap hit. I understand that. But just restructure him again. It's not a bad thing to continue to restructure contracts. I saw a lot of people in the text line on our show yesterday as we were discussing Kevin Byard's contract. I saw so many texts that said, but he had already restructured his contract 2 times. So what? Do it again. It's a good thing for Kevin Byard to restructure that contract. A restructure doesn't mean he's taking less money. It really means that he's getting more money up front. So it's really a positive thing for Kevin Byard, rather, to restructure that contract. So do it again if you don't want him to play under that cap number. If you don't want to kick the can down the road, then you're just going to have to swallow it and eat that cap number. Because if I'm Kevin Byard, I'm not taking a pay cut. Heck no. He's done nothing but good things for this team. But I do ultimately think it gets worked out. I do ultimately think that Kevin Byard plays as Titan in 2023. But the whole situation is bizarre.
Caroline Fenton with us here on Robby and Rexrode. Caroline, thanks for being with us this morning. We'll be listening at 11 o'clock.
See you later, Caroline.
I appreciate y'all. Enjoyed listening to y'all this morning.
Thank you very much. Caroline Fenton with us here on Robby and Rexrode. Caroline, Willie, and D-May starting at 11 o'clock this morning. We'll take your thoughts on the Titans, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. We'll react to what Caroline had to say there and also get a little bit more into the Lamar Jackson situation, including a team in the AFC South that apparently could be interested in his services. We'll get into that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
It's in the hole! It's in the hole!
Join 102.5 The Game for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament, benefiting Souls for Souls, June 7th at Hermitage Golf Course. Put your team together and come play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebs.
See the ball.
Support a great cause and have loads of fun. Plus, you'll have the chance to win awesome prizes. Sign up to play, sponsor, or donate at thegamenashville.com/golf.
Spring in and style up with huge savings on top athletic brands at your Dick's Sporting Goods warehouse sales store in Franklin. Stay active this spring with up to 70% off the athletic styles you love. Shop deals on thousands of styles from top athletic apparel and footwear brands like $10 tees, tanks, and shorts for the family, $20 swimwear, $20 golf polos, and running footwear for $60 or less. Find incredible deals and incredible style at your Dick's Sporting Goods warehouse sales store in Franklin at Watson Glen.
Preds fans, Superbook wants to send one lucky fan a pair of tickets on the ice. Text the keyword Superbook, all one word, to 615-737-1025 for entry to win.
Cards issued by Celtic Bank, member FDIC.
Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's business cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp's software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 3.5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp for free. Just go to ramp.com/sports. Ramp.com/sports. ramp.com/sports.
Take your first shot at hoops with FanDuel Sportsbook. Sign up today by going to FanDuel.com/play and make every moment more with FanDuel.
21 plus in select states. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Tennessee, and Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona. 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana. 1-800-522-4700 or visit KESGamblingHelp.com in Kansas. 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming or visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live.
We are good to go.
Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. You're locked into Robby and Rexrode.
Every morning, first thing.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Join 102.5 The Game and the Preds Energy Team at Brewhouse South in Cool Springs this Thursday, March the 30th. The Preds Road Watch Party as the Nashville Predators take on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Stop by and enjoy Brewhouse South and their 70s beers on tap, classic American menu, along with Cajun Southwestern Island comfort food. That's 102.5 The Game and Preds Energy Team at Brewhouse South in Cool Springs. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by Superbook. We are live from our 102.5 The Game studio, brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Taking your thoughts, 615-737-1025. So we discussed the Lamar Jackson situation earlier. He basically wrote his goodbye letter to the city of Baltimore yesterday on Twitter and informed us that he had requested a trade on March the 2nd. Meanwhile, John Harbaugh up at his press conference while this tweet was being released yesterday discussing his thoughts on Lamar Jackson. Here's what John Harbaugh, head coach of the Ravens, had to say yesterday on Lamar.
We made a decision to go with Lamar Jackson 5 years ago, right? Why? Because we love him. We love him. We love the way he plays. We love his mindset, his charisma, his style, the way he is in the locker room. Everything about him. We love him. I love him personally. I love being the coach of the team that he's playing quarterback for. So that's what you do. You know, you build the team around your players, and that's what I'm excited to do.
So that was John Harbaugh yesterday talking about building his team around Lamar Jackson and how much he loves Lamar Jackson. Which, look, I don't doubt that. Like, you know, I take John Harbaugh at his word there, but obviously the way that he feels about it and the way that Lamar Jackson currently feels about it are two very different things. And I'm interested to see how all that shakes out. Now, having said that, there was a report yesterday that there could be some interest on Lamar Jackson's behalf from the Indianapolis Colts. And we've kind of discussed that possibility and thrown it around as it relates to where Lamar Jackson could end up landing if it's not going to be in Baltimore. And Stephen Holder put this out there yesterday, and Colts general manager Chris Ballard was discussing it yesterday. Said, quote, anytime a special player is available, which he is, you've got to do the work. I'm not going to get deep into discussions of where it's at or what we're doing or what we might do. But what I tell you is he's a really good player, talking about Lamar, really special player, but you never know how any of this will work out. This is what Chris Ballard had to say yesterday. So, I mean, look, he's not outright coming out and being like, yes, we would love to have Lamar Jackson on our football team. Mm-hmm. But obviously, you know, he's considering all options there. Now, I will say Stephen Holder just a few minutes ago came out with something that says, let me find it here. But it was basically like Colts, they can be interested in Lamar Jackson all they want, and whether or not that's true, from what he's heard, the terms financially that Lamar Jackson is asking for are making all this a non-starter. So it doesn't sound like Lamar Jackson has really come off whatever it is he's asking for, and that maybe that's a problem for the Indianapolis Colts. It clearly is a problem for the other teams out there, but this was the tweet. Regardless of what the Colts or anyone else might love about Lamar Jackson, the very clear stance from people here at the owners' meetings I've talked to is that whatever contract demands he's currently making are absolutely a non-starter. Do with this info whatever you wish. This is from Stephen Holder, friend of the show.
Yeah, and then Irsay told Zach Kiefer of The Athletic that he does not believe in fully guaranteed contracts. Yep. And I have a feeling that, you put both of those context clues together, that's probably what he's asking for. I mean, I bet a lot of teams are in the same situation as the Colts, right? You see this great quarterback who is available, but yet is asking for something that one organization gave the Browns, not a smart decision. Then the Cardinals flinched and they gave that to Kyler Murray. So it's trying to find something in the middle of those two contracts to make Lamar happy. But at the end of the day, he's going to be the one that needs to budge, because I have a feeling if most of the owners and the GMs at these meetings right now are on the same page, they're probably all just frustrated with the Browns organization, because it puts them all in a tough situation. And then you ask the question, could it be moving towards this way? Could more quarterbacks and more players be demanding these contracts and saying that, we put our bodies out there every single day. I mean, the NFL doesn't have fully guaranteed contracts, but we see that in other leagues around the country that have fully guaranteed contract for those players. So, it puts kind of everything in an interesting situation as far as if Lamar gets something, if an organization decides, you know what, we think he's our guy, or we know he's our guy, we want to bet on him, we want to give him this big guaranteed contract, could that end up changing things down the line? Because Lamar can hold out, but, if a team gets desperate enough, I do believe somebody will pay the price. If they get desperate enough and they see what they do during the draft and the rest of free agency and they think, we just need a quarterback.
Well, from the Colts' perspective, I think that's where this could get really interesting, because right now they're at number 4 in the draft, which there are 4 quarterbacks that people think are going to go in the first round. That's great. Now, that doesn't mean that the Colts like all 4 of them.
Nope.
And I think we know that the first 2 picks are going to be a quarterback. Like, Carolina's going to take a quarterback. It's looking like it's going to be C.J. Stroud. Houston's going to take a quarterback. It's probably going to be Bryce Young. Now, maybe that changes. I don't know. We'll see what happens there. But I'd be surprised if it's not Stroud and Young in some form or fashion going 1 or 2. Then there's Arizona at 3, and they don't need a quarterback, but they also don't need to stay at 3. Like, they could trade out of that. So
they should.
There is a scenario, if you're Indy, where if you hang around at 4, 3 of the quarterbacks could be gone by the time you pick. And look, maybe you like all 4 of them. You don't care all that much who it is. But my guess is that's rarely the case. Like, usually you've got a pretty good pecking order of what you want and what you don't. And, I mean, if you're Indy and you don't move up and somebody takes Arizona's spot, so your quarterback could be gone. And then, like, are you good if you're Jim Irsay or Chris Ballard in the Colts? Are you going to be like, well, we know the guy that we really wanted is gone, but Will Levis is available. Let's take him at number 4. We don't really like him, but, I mean, that would be a pretty bad way to do business here. So, like, I could see where you get through the draft and this Lamar situation still not resolved. And what if they don't get their guy in the draft and they say, you know what, well, let's just go get Lamar. Like, that could change that situation then. But also, like, if I'm a Colts fan and I had my druthers, like, if they loved one of these guys coming out of the draft, like, go get him, get a rookie deal on him, build the team around him, and see whether or not he's any good. But I'm interested to see what happens on that front, because that's when I think the Colts and Lamar stuff could get pretty interesting, is if they don't find their guy in the draft.
Yeah, we need to hear from Bindi N. Oh my God, that was words are hard. Indy Ben on this, because the Colts, we've laughed about it, but I mean, in Frank Reich's entire time there, before he got fired this past year, it had just been the revolving door at quarterback. Okay, let's go try to find somebody who's proven themselves. And Lamar's different because he still is young.
Yeah, like he would be an answer there. Like he's good enough where he could be the franchise guy. But now, is he going to win a Super Bowl? I have no idea. But he's good enough to be a franchise guy.
But the Colts, you look at that roster right now, they got to up that receiving core, right? I don't know what they're doing with their offensive line. I know they were the highest paid offensive line in the league last year, right? What's happening with that? I look at this Colts team as, yeah, he could be your answer at quarterback, but how much money is he asking for? How much money does he want guaranteed? And what are you able to put around him? Because I think one of the biggest knocks on Lamar, too, has been, he hasn't, people always say, okay, well, he can't throw. Okay, well, what electric wide receivers has he actually had with the Ravens? Not too many. Right. So, can you get him a guy like that? Can you get him a guy like that in Indy? I know they have Pittman Jr., but, what does that look like? So, oh gosh, if he was in this division, that would really stir things up. Because I'm looking right now, Jacksonville's, they're the favorite, right? Coming off the win last year. They've got a first place schedule this year. They're going to have Calvin Ridley coming in. Trevor Lawrence just another year. You look at this Tennessee Titans team, and I would put them second right now.
For sure.
Because Houston and Indy, I still put question marks there because of everything we've mentioned. Are they going to draft quarterbacks? What does Houston look like if they do get a Bryce Young? How is he in his first year? Are they able to address some other areas on the roster? But they easily could take a jump like Jacksonville did when they had a couple years of not being very good. They got some high draft picks. They get their quarterback. Houston could easily make a turnaround like that and in the next 2 years be in a similar position that Jacksonville was in this year. But if the Colts go out and get Lamar Jackson, and you're a Tennessee Titans fan, and there are no significant big moves that make your roster significantly better, you're sitting at third in the division, I would say, in not a very competitive division.
Well, this all goes back to what you said earlier, and I agree with. Like, it's a great business decision by the Ravens to put this non-exclusive franchise tag on him. Mm-hmm. Andrew Brandt just put this out there this morning, former executive with the Packers. He says, bottom line for Lamar, if he's not traded or not extended, will he show up in September or turn his back on roughly $2 million per week this season? He'll probably show up. Again, that's the power of the franchise tag. That's what Andrew Brandt put out there this morning. So we'll see what happens on the Lamar Jackson front. Lots happening at the NFL owners meeting, some news and notes around the league yesterday. We'll get into all that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Hey, I'm Ryan Johansson, and this is Smashville.
Back to Johansson, and Johansson tips it in with one hand on the stick.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network, ESPN 102.5, The Game.
Well, here we go, folks. Coming right down to it with the tournament, and there's no better place to get on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Joe Rexrode here to let you know that right now FanDuel is giving new customers a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets. If your first bet does not win, just go to FanDuel.com/Joe102 and sign up today to claim that no-sweat first bet. You can wager on everything from the money line to point spreads, which teams will be cutting down the nets. I think UConn and San Diego State are going to play for the national title. If I was looking at that San Diego State FAU game, I do like Johnell Davis for FAU over on his point. So there's a couple things I like this weekend. Tons that you can get into, all in an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Don't miss your shot at a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/Joe102 to sign up. Make every moment more with FanDuel. You must be 21 or older in present Tennessee. First online real money wager, only $10 deposit required. Refund issued is now withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line 800-889-9789.
Middle Tennessee, you can count on an award-winning service team for all your home maintenance and improvement needs. Lee Company, we're A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau and trusted by thousands of homeowners in our community. Our team is ready to assist with all your home maintenance projects, heating and air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, appliance service, and more. Experience the convenience of calling one phone number for all your home maintenance needs. Call Lee Company today at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
This week at the Electronic Express Markdown Mania event, get instant savings of up to 40% off in every department, including all 4K TVs, laptops and tablets, housewares, gaming consoles, speakers, and more. At Electronic Express, we have up to 50% off all your appliance needs in stock and ready to deliver. Plus, buy now, pay later with up to 3 years free financing. Shop the Markdown Mania sales event at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
It's that time of year, the insanity, the madness, the tournament, your friends showing up at your house to watch the games and eat all your food. You want to be a good host, but you don't want total chaos, and Central Barbecue has the solution. Bulk order some slow smoked barbecue and pick it up right before tip-off. Stop by either Nashville location or place an order at eatcbq.com. This year, show your friends you care about them. Feed them Central Barbecue. 2 locations in Hillsboro and Capitol View. Smoke is our sauce.
It's electric in Smashville. The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Local 429 has a new path to a dignified career. Local 429 is accepting applications for the highest skilled electricians and linemen and is providing the best training in Middle Tennessee. They are the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Local 429. Call them at 615-889-4429 or go online to ibew429.org. IBEW Local 429, your proud 7th man since the beginning. Go Preds.
When you want live and local,
if they were just better at the offensive line,
you can be a contender in the AFC again.
They've had more winning seasons than not. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game has you covered. Looking for some national programming?
Why do I want to get a running back like that 5 more years?
The AFC now is so deep at quarterback.
Check out 94.9 The Fan. Nashville's home for all things sports is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and 94.9 The Fan.
Hey, Nashville, it's Mike Greenberg, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley alongside Michelle Knezovic. Nick Fraser here with you on this Tuesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. We're taking your thoughts, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Make sure you check out Nashville's best deal of the week. It's from Hot Works in Goodlettsville. It's open 24/7, and their infrared virtually LED sauna classes, virtually LED sauna classes. I can't read today. Choose from Hot Cycle, Hot Blast, Hot Thunder, Hot Yoga, Hot Bar, and more. Right now, you can join for just $39 in time for their grand opening coming up on April 1st. That's $60 off at thegamenashville.com/deals. Make sure you check it out. You can get more workout in less time at Hotworks. Just go to thegamenashville.com/deal. 615-737-1025. Taking a look at some headlines around the National Football League with the NFL owners meetings taking place yesterday. By the way, they put out like the annual coaches picture.
Vrabel's not in it.
And Vrabel wasn't in there. I was like, what's going on, man? But I guess Sirianni wasn't in there and Frank Reich wasn't in there either. So they had 29 of the 32 coaches in the NFL coaches picture yesterday.
You can't. As if people wouldn't notice. I saw Teresa quoted it and was like, I don't see Vrabel in here. And I was like, she must have been missing him or something.
Well, I mean,
and I went through all of them and I was like, wait a minute. He isn't.
He's a pretty big guy, I guess. I feel like we'd notice him in there, but he's not in the picture. So I don't know what that means.
If you look at Bill Belichick,
he's doing.
He's just sitting in the front row. His arms are crossed.
Classic Belichick. Just kind of chilling there.
It's like one of those holiday pictures where you want to go with your family. You're like,
yeah.
Where's so-and-so?
Where's so-and-so?
Well, not here today.
Vrabel just, I don't have time for this picture. I'm not doing that. Pretty good stuff yesterday out at the NFL owners meetings. There was some comments on the Aaron Rodgers and New York Jets front. Now, we had Charles Robinson on last week, and he talked about how the owners meeting, probably a good time to expect maybe this Rodgers thing to get done just because everybody's there, you're in person, and you could work things out that way. Some interesting comments from Brian Gutekunst yesterday, who is the general manager of the Green Bay Packers. And obviously we know what Aaron Rodgers said on the McAfee show a couple weeks ago about how he felt like basically the intentions to bring him back as quarterback changed after Rodgers got out of the darkness. And Gutekunst was addressing some of that yesterday, and he said, quote, I was really looking forward to conversations with Aaron to see how he fit into that. Those never transpired, so there came a time where we had to make some decisions. So we went through his representatives to try to talk to him about where we're going with our team. At that point, they informed us that he would like to be traded to the Jets. So whatever Aaron Rodgers is saying and whatever Brian Gutekunst is saying, not quite adding up here in terms of the way this whole thing went down. It's getting kind of ugly between the Packers and Aaron Rodgers, and no deal has been made as of yet. And there's conversation now, and I heard Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max talking about it this morning on the way in. Like, if you're the Jets throughout all this, do you look around at Lamar and say, hey, you know what, maybe we'll just throw our hat in the Lamar race and drop Rodgers? I mean, Gutekunst was asked yesterday, like, is there a scenario where Rodgers is still on your team next year? And he's like, well, not taking anything off the table. Now, he would be stupid to be like, no way, because you're in the middle of a trade negotiation. So I get it from that standpoint. But now there's kind of the talking about, like, should the Jets hang in there? How much value should they give up? Should they give up a first-round pick in order to get Rodgers? It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But based on the way the conversation was going yesterday, doesn't really feel like a deal is necessarily close between the Packers and the New York Jets.
Well, and if you're the Jets, you look at this situation and, I mean, you can ask Aaron Rodgers, but if he is going to give you a real answer, I don't know. I mean, the Packers just gave him the huge contract coming off an MVP season to be there for 5 more years, and then the same thing happens at the end of the season. He's weighing his options, and is he going to end his football career? I mean, if you're the Jets and you're going to go, give up, if the Packers want first-round picks, right, like depending on whatever you give up, and then in addition to taking on Aaron's contract, I mean, you need to be absolutely sure that he's not just going to play for you 1 year and whip up the peace sign and say, you know what, I'm done. I think I'm going to retire.
Yep.
So when you look at the Lamar situation, it's definitely more of an investment and this Jets team is young. I mean, they've got some young stud receivers, a young defense. So are you trying to build something for, the future? You think you could put Lamar in there and you're like, he might be worth the investment, because as much as Aaron Rodgers, yes, in his time in the NFL has been, I mean, he's a lot older than Lamar, but he's going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback, right? He's already created that entire resume. Is it worth it for the Jets to give up so much to potentially have Rodgers at the end of the season say, yeah, I'm weighing my options and I want to look around at other teams, or I want to retire? That's kind of the way I look at it. When you look at quarterbacks, I mean, if I have the choice for the next couple years and say Rodgers is maybe a little bit younger, I'm choosing Rodgers. I think he's a better quarterback, but he could give you 1 year and then say, yeah, I don't want to play anymore. So,
well, I think it's part of what the holdup is too, right? Like, if you're the Packers, you're trying to get as much out of it as you can. There's not necessarily a rush for you to do it if you're the Packers, just because, I mean, he's there. He's under contract. You already have your other guy that you're going with after this, so there's not really a rush to get the deal done. But it's also like, if you're the Jets, like, to your point, there's no guarantee that you're going to have him for any more than a year. So is that worth giving up a first-round pick? I don't know. Like, I'm really interested to see, like, who kind of bends first. Like, somebody's going to have to bend in order for this deal to get done, and I'm interested to see who that ends up being. But based on those comments yesterday, it kind of makes it seem like it may be a little bit away from happening at this point. In other news, the Philadelphia Eagles are hoping to sign Jalen Hurts to a contract extension, quote, relatively soon. This is what Howie Roseman, their general manager, had to say yesterday. He said, when you go back to the start of free agency, we talked to his representatives about bringing him back here, and also talked to them about the fact that we have limited resources. It's no secret that at some time relatively soon, we want to extend our quarterback, so our whole roster building is going to kind of turn a little bit here from a quarterback on a rookie deal towards a quarterback hopefully on a long-term deal, is what Howie Roseman had to say yesterday.
That's going to be interesting to see what type of contract Jalen Hurts gets, too. I mean, we look at one of the other young quarterbacks, Kyler Murray, who we've mentioned a couple times. He got that big contract, but hasn't even really proved anything for the Arizona Cardinals. Here's Jalen Hurts. He takes his team to a Super Bowl, just barely loses to the Chiefs. You have a roster from top to bottom that last year was the best roster in the NFL. Obviously, things are changing now, but what will that roster look like when they aren't able to sign the top player at each individual position? I mean, we look at the offensive line. They're the best offensive line in football. Jason Kelce got an extension, a pretty significant extension. I think he's getting $34 million added onto his contract. I mean, you're paying A.J. Brown. is Devontae Smith going to want a new contract soon? I mean, Jalen Hurts is. So there are some young guys on that roster who really made a case to get a new contract, including Jalen Hurts. But the conversation again on when you have a quarterback on a rookie deal, it is a lot easier to be in a Super Bowl window because of the salary cap. And you look at a guy like Joe Burrow, who's already come out and said, I'll take a team-friendly deal. I want Jamar Chase and T. Higgins on my team. And I think, whew, if you're a football fan, you better be scared of that coming for you the next couple of years. It's like what Brady did all those years. He said, okay, I'll take the team-friendly deal. And, I mean, he has a bunch of Super Bowls to show for it. But what will this deal from Jalen Hurts look like, I think, is what I'm interested to see, because he was able to make it to a Super Bowl with all of these guys around him, a greatly constructed team. Is he somebody maybe willing to take somewhat of a team-friendly deal, or how big of a contract will they give him? So,
yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, look, they're a team right now, obviously, that's built to win. Mm-hmm. But like you said, I mean, they've been able to go get A.J. Brown. They've been able to do these things in some part just because Jalen Hurts is on the rookie deal that he's on. And Harry Roseman, I mean, laid it out there. Like, they obviously want to sign Jalen Hurts to a long-term deal. Anytime you find an answer at quarterback, you want to get that taken care of. But that does change the equation of how you build your roster around him. So I'm interested to see how they do that and what that ends up looking like. And just the Jalen Hurts contract too. Like everybody's talking about the Lamar contract and what the money looks like. Like Jalen Hurts, people forget, heading into last year, in Philadelphia, around here, after the A.J. Brown trade, lots of people nationally, the question was like, all right, well, Jalen Hurts has all of the weapons now in front of him. Mm-hmm. Is he good enough to take advantage of it? And I think we found out pretty quickly that the answer is yes, he is good enough. And even though they lost that Super Bowl game, he was awesome in that game. So
I mean, he should have been the MVP.
Right.
Honestly.
Like, I mean, he played great, and he played great all year. So, I mean, really, you're talking about 1 year where he's looked great, but he looked really darn good that 1 year. And I think the contract, I mean, it's an easy decision for the Eagles to go with him, but I am interested to see ultimately what that deal looks like based on basically 1 year of elite play.
Well, and then on top of that, Devontae Smith, only second year in the league, but what could it look like at the end of next year? I mean, is he going to want a big wide receiver contract like an A.J. Brown contract, like a Christian Kirk contract? Because that's going to, I think, factor into it too. Are they going to be able to keep both of those guys? Similar to the conversation we have with the Bengals, right? Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Burrow. They're kind of all in the same age group. So all of their contracts and wanting that contract extension, they kind of all come up within, a couple years of each other. So that's another core that I'm looking at to see, okay, if they can all stay and the Eagles can make it all work, those three, they're going to be pretty dangerous, in the NFC for years to come, Robby.
Tune in later this morning at 8:45 for your chance to participate in Preds Pick to Click and win a pair of tickets to a future Preds home game. Pick to Click is brought to you by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Visit tjandersonhomes.com to see why they are referred so often. And Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Download their app today. Coming up next, we normally do a rant at this time, but honestly, to me, it kind of feels inappropriate today. So we're going to get back into discussing what we led off the show with, a tragic day in our city yesterday. We'll get into that coming up next and offer some of our thoughts on that situation as well. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
We are your home for every big pass.
Kevin Harvick takes over the race lead.
Big wreck.
Trouble turn 2. One car is around and hard into the outside wall.
And big win.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has won the Daytona 500.
Yeah! Woo!
Catch every lap of NASCAR on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
What's up, everybody? Michelle Knezvik here for Superbook Sports. Make 2023 the year when you beat Vegas. Superbook Sports gives you the chance every single week to go head-to-head with the best odds makers in Las Vegas. We got the Final Four coming up this weekend. I'm so excited for some of these matchups. UConn, a 5.5-point favorite over Miami. Miami's guards have been playing unreal in this tournament, so I'm going to take Miami plus the 5.5. And FAU, San Diego State, that's pretty much a pick 'em. I think San Diego State makes it to the final round of the tournament, so give me San Diego State on that one. And one of the reasons I love Superbook is because there's no fancy computer algorithms, no guys across the pond setting lines for American sports, just the best team of odds makers in the business behind the counter at Superbook in Las Vegas. Plus, Superbook features some of the best odds boosts and promo bets anywhere. So download the Superbook Sportsbook app or visit superbook.com to start your battle against Vegas right now. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Hey, it's Jared for Hiller. Sometimes replacing equipment in your home can be overlooked until something breaks, but there's actually big problems that can come from outdated old vintage HVAC systems. Older systems require more maintenance and results in higher utility bills. This month during Hiller's Vintage Showdown, they're giving away a free HVAC system to the owner of the oldest unit. It's easy to enter. Just go online to happyhiller.com and submit a picture of your old unit. Everybody wins with a trade-in credit and 0% interest financing for up to 48 months on replacement. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back at First Horizon Park. Opening weekend kicks off Friday, March 31st against the Louisville Bats, with Friday fireworks, live music Saturday, and Sunday family fun day. See you at the ballpark. Get tickets at NashvilleSounds.com.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, Willie Donick here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. And a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. Use that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Sometimes he gets lonely and needs some company.
10 for 17 for 45 yards in his career with 1 interception.
This is one of those years where it's a step back for them.
And that'll create more one-on-one situations and make it easier for him to throw the ball down the field.
It's Stillman and Company.
You've got real talent.
With Jared Stillman. Weekdays from 2 to 6 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode.
It's part of this nutritious breakfast.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley alongside Michelle Knezvik, Nick Frazier here with you on this Tuesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. We'll be joined by our friend Gentry Estes from the Tennessean coming up at 8 o'clock. David Poyle, Nashville Predators general manager, will join us at 8:30. So looking forward to those two conversations coming up here in the next hour or so. But we led off the show this way, and normally at this time every day we do a Rob rant or a Red rant or a Rex rant, and quite honestly, today, I mean, it felt like me in here whining about traffic or pedestrians crossing traffic like I did yesterday or something stupid like that is just not the appropriate way to go today. So we're gonna do something a little bit differently today, and we let off the show this way, but obviously it's worth reiterating just what a terrible day yesterday was in our city, and we know what happened at the Covenant School. 3 young children killed yesterday, 3 staff members killed yesterday as well at the Covenant School, and it was a heartbreaking day to just watch all this unfold in our city. It happened shortly after I got off the air, and Michelle, you and Chase were still on the air while this was going on yesterday, and it was just a horrifying experience. And I said this earlier, like it always resonates with me when these things happen, and unfortunately they happen with such a frequency nowadays that it's almost hard to keep up. But there's something about it when it happens in your own backyard that is just so different, and really the only thing that I could think about yesterday, and I'm sure this is the case for most everybody in our community, was those families and those children and all of the people involved that are having to now deal with this and the aftermath of it and just the horror of what happened yesterday at the Covenant School. And I said this earlier, I understand that when things like this happen, there is a natural political discourse that takes place, and I'm sure that is going to happen. It's already started happening on some social media fronts. There are 1,000 different places that you can have those discussions and do that. This is not really one of them. Like, it's not my place to tell you how to think about a certain issue. You can think that way for yourselves. Quite frankly, I don't think any of you are concerned about my thoughts on those things. But it was just such a heartbreaking day yesterday, and just like you said earlier, I was watching the newscast yesterday of I was kind of flipping around from 2 to 4 to 5 to 17, and just watching all these things unfold, and watching parents literally sprint by the camera to see if they can reunite with their children, or just the ongoing information that kept coming out as the day went on yesterday. The police department providing their updates yesterday. It was just an incredibly heartbreaking day in our city. And I don't have a ton to say. Like, there's not a whole lot that I know what to say when things like this happen. Only thing I can say is my prayers are fervently with the families that are affected here. And, I talked about the discourse that naturally takes place. That's going to happen. I hope in the midst of all that we remember that there are families involved here that are dealing with an unimaginable pain and an incredible loss that came out of nowhere yesterday. And one of the things that I've always loved about this city and this community is when tragedy strikes, and we've seen some of it in different forms in my lifetime here. I've grown up here. I was born here. And anything from floods to tornadoes now to something just horrendous that happened yesterday. This community has always rallied behind each other and has always been able to help their own through unimaginably difficult circumstances. And let's just not let these young people and these staff members that were killed yesterday become names that we discuss for a little while and we forget about later. It's our responsibility as a community to love on these people and to come alongside these people and help them through this time. And it was just such a heartbreaking day yesterday. Obviously we've talked about it on the show. I'm about to become a dad here in a few months, and I was just, when you have that perspective that I've not had before, it was just shattering yesterday. My wife and I were sitting there watching this all unfold in our city yesterday, and it was just heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking.
Well, and Robby, you and I had this conversation off air. I called my mom last night, and you're just in this, I wasn't directly affected or knew anybody in there, but you feel for them because you never imagine something like that could happen so close to home, and for all the people that were impacted yesterday. And, the sad reality is sometimes when you see it on the news and it's far away, we've become desensitized to so many of these horrific, tragic incidences happening around the world. And I told you, Chase and I were in the last segment of our show, and I started to see some news outlets pop up and get the breaking news notifications. And, you're starting to, text people, and as information is unfolding, not having a kid who even goes to that school or knowing anybody who goes to that school, but you're trying to find information out. I can only imagine the way that, parents and people who have loved ones who are a part of that school community or even in that area, right? And watching some of the videos come out. I mean, we've had, the Today Show, Good Morning America. It's been all over the news outlets all morning. And, we commend our police officers and all the first responders there yesterday who, were at the scene, the reporters covering this situation. But there's not much to say. And I think what you said, that this isn't a conversation to bring up political views. This is a conversation to bring up the fact that we lost a bunch of lives yesterday, that they were just going to work or they were going to school that shouldn't have been lost because they have so much left to live. And I think it's important that as a community, it doesn't just begin to wear away after time passes, right? Because maybe if you weren't directly impacted by it, life goes on and you start to, like, it's important that we remember what has happened. And because these parents, these loved ones, these daughters, these grandkids, they're going to be impacted by it every single day for the rest of their lives. And it's something that no one ever should have to experience, let alone little kids have to experience, all those little kids who lived through that and even survived onto the other side. This is something that will impact them for the rest of their lives. And I think, as we sit here today and we can use our voices, to speak to people all around Middle Tennessee and Nashville, it's you pray and you hug your loved ones and, you do whatever you can to be the best version of yourself, to, stick by the people you love. And it's just so hard because there's really not, I wish you could just snap your fingers and fix something like this. But, just thoughts and prayers. I know everybody at our station is thinking about the people affected by this and impacted by this. And, we'll, if anything new happens or any more news is unveiled surrounding this situation, we'll keep you updated on our airwaves and sharing it on social media. But just thinking about those families, those young kids, the school, and everything today. Yeah, for sure. I mean, and like I said, it's our job now to love on these people, and we saw some of that already happening last night. I mean, while the newscasts were going on last night, there were people just coming out of the woodwork to prayer vigils outside of the school, and I know several churches in the area last night had prayer time devoted to the schools and what happened yesterday. And like I said, I'm not interested or smart enough to get into the political aspect of all this, but all I can tell you is it was heartbreaking to watch yesterday. It's still heartbreaking to watch now as it's going on. Obviously the news is on in our studio, and some of the pictures and video that have come out of kids crying yesterday on the school bus trying to figure out where their parents are. It's just it's heartbreaking, and there's really no other way to describe it than that. So, look, I mean, this is such a hard time in our city. I said this earlier. I'll reiterate it again. It was really difficult to put together a show grid last night. And look, I'm not looking for any sympathy from me. I'm just trying to highlight, we're talking about sports, and it's our job to talk about sports. And there are some days where sports just seem so insignificant, and this is one of those days. Now, having said that, I recognize that we are a sports show, and sports can be an avenue for people to escape the realities of life, and I think that can be a really important and powerful tool as well. But just our prayers are with the families that were affected yesterday, and we'll continue to keep you updated on more information as it becomes available to you. But just I thought anything other than that would be inappropriate today for our rant, and a lot of that stuff that we kind of joke about sometimes on here seems pretty trivial when it comes to something like this. Coming up next, go ahead. So I was just going to say really quick, Robby, just shout out again to the Nashville police officers, Michael Colazzo and Rex Engelbert, who were able to stop the shooter and get to the scene so quickly. So, just a shout out to Nashville police officers who were able to be at the scene quickly and help stop anything more from happening yesterday. Yep, absolutely. Coming up next, we'll be joined by Gentry Estes from the Tennessean. We'll get into a lot of different topics with him throughout the world of sports here in the Middle Tennessee area. That's coming up next. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Every day we are live and local.
They played tough. They came back, and they still lost.
And your source for Nashville sports.
Yes, you want to have a fire sale, but who's going to buy those players?
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Time for the Blitz Report.
Presented by Newton Nissan.
The Nashville Predators arrived in Boston late Monday afternoon, getting set to take on the Bruins and then later on this week, the Pittsburgh Penguins. Not an easy task to be certain, but the Predators coming on now with a 1-2 homestand. Now they go against the best team in the National Hockey League, inarguably. The Bruins, 57-11-5. They have 9 games left. They could conceivably finish with 137 points in the standings. That would rank them among the greatest teams of all time without any question. Predators tonight against the Bruins at TD North Garden. We'll be underway with a pregame show for you at 5 o'clock. Hal Gill joins me for the radio call at 6. From Boston, this is Pete Weber reporting.
All the best car deals in Smashville start at Newton Nissan. Visit them at Newton Nissan of Gallatin or Newton Nissan South in Shelbyville.
This is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
615 Chutney. You might recognize the name. Real Nashvillians know the 615 Chutney food truck used to be the spot. Now they have a full restaurant in Bellevue. Make no mistake, it's a new look with live music, an art gallery, and even a robot server. Yeah, a lot has changed, but it's still the same old chutney. They still serve up authentic and delicious South Indian cuisine to hundreds of satisfied customers every week. And they've become a Nashville staple along the way. Just ask around. Open for dine-in, carry out, and delivery through Grubhub. That's 615 Chutney in Bellevue, a very Indian affair.
Will they find a home? Sponsored by Geico. Sarah wants a yard. My own little paradise. Brad, however, hates yard work.
The only thing I hate more than cutting the grass is paying someone to cut the grass.
Compromise is tough, but these two won't have to compromise when they bundle home and car insurance with Geico. It's easy, and they could save even more. In the end, Sarah and Brad found a great home with a yard. A very, very small yard.
Time to get it done. And I'm done.
Bundling without compromise at Geico.com.
This is C.J. McCollum, star of the New Orleans Pelicans and co-host of the C.J. McCollum Show.
McCollum at the horn for three. Got it.
Inviting you to join Israel Gutierrez and me once a week as we discuss names and storylines in and around the NBA with the inside perspective you can only get from someone in the locker room and on the floor. Listen to great guests from players such as Brandon Ingram and Andre Iguodala, and input from a great team of ESPN Insider regulars like Brian Windhorst, Tim McMahon, and Mark Spears. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Lowe's MVP's bonus days are back for pros. Right now, buy a DeWalt 20-volt Max Power Stack Battery 2-pack at $199 and get a select DeWalt Bear tool free. Plus, earn 3 times the bonus points on all Metabo HPT tools and products. Shop even more savings and bonus points offers during MVP's bonus days at Lowe's. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts, if any. Valid 3/20 through 3/31. Subject to change. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Discount taken at time of purchase. Visit Lowes.com/MVP's bonus points for details.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
A gunny performance.
Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexrode on Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
Final hour, Robbie and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley alongside Michelle Knezovic, Nick Frazier here with you on this Tuesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Taking your thoughts, 615-737-1025. We'll have Predators General Manager David Poile coming up at 8:30, so looking forward to that conversation with him. Right now we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in our friend Gentry Estes from the Tennessean. Gentry, good morning. It's obviously a tough day in our city this morning, but really appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning.
Yeah, good morning. Good to be with y'all, and yeah, definitely a tough day for sure.
No question about it. So, Gentry, a lot to get into today with you, just on the sports front. Lots of things going on. I just want to start with your thoughts on the Titans. You know, what do you make of what they've done to this point in free agency, the quality of the team they have right now, and what is still left to be done in the draft? How close, I guess, when you wrap all those together, do you think they are to being able to compete again in the AFC South and making it back to the playoffs this year?
Well, I think they're going to be able to compete in the AFC South. Y'all discussed earlier, it's not the best division. I don't think that the Titans are sitting there with a 7-game losing streak and still almost won in Jack. So I think if the AFC South's a pretty easy target right now. So I think the Titans. I mean, there seems to be this perception out there that this is a team that's on the way to this huge rebuild, and maybe that's true. But we haven't seen it yet. Rumors of trades of Derrick Henry, releasing Kevin Byard. I mean, these things could all set them in that direction, but it does seem, at least as we talk right now, that they're trying to run it back a little bit and kind of go with what they've got. So if that's the plan, I like what they've done in free agency so far. I think they've found some nice bargains out there with players that can help them. They've addressed the offensive line, which I think we all would have said was the biggest issue going into all this. And now, you still have a lot of holes on the roster that you need to address in the draft, most notably wide receiver. You need somebody out there to be able to catch the passes. So I don't think it's a finished product by this point. But at the same time, I'm not all out on the Titans at this point. I still feel as though the defense could be awfully good. I wouldn't be out there releasing Kevin Byard and things like that, but I think that as it stands right now, the defense could be pretty good. And if you tweak a few things offensively, this could be a reasonably good team.
How realistic do you think quarterback is in the draft in the first couple of rounds for this team?
I don't see them trading up for one of the top guys. Now, if you're sitting there in the second or third round and, maybe a Hendon Hooker's still there, that could make some sense to me. I feel like there's a couple other quarterbacks, a guy at Fresno, maybe some others that could be available late who would be capable of helping you. But at this point, that would be the question would be, what do you do with Malik Willis? Because I know it didn't go well last year, but when you look at Willis coming in last year, the perception generally was he was going to need a year. Coming from that system at Liberty with Hugh Freeze, he was going to need to adjust to the pro game and need some time to do it. He was forced out there a little earlier than I think the Titans would have liked. It didn't go well, but I still feel like there's a lot of ability there, and I don't think we know yet exactly what his ceiling is going to be in the NFL. It could be pretty high. There's some ability there, but you could also take a look at what happened last season and go, look, this isn't the guy. We need to find somebody else. So I feel like Josh Dobbs leaving town the way he did was kind of an indication that they're okay with seeing what Malik Willis can do for another year. But we'll see. It would make some sense. If you don't think he could ever be your starter, it makes no sense to keep him around and go try to find the guy that you think could be.
Gentry, what did you make of the Vols and their run in the NCAA tournament and the tournament as a whole, the Final Four being what it is with FAU and San Diego State and Miami and UConn? Obviously, that's a pretty wild Final Four. What do you make of what we've seen in the NCAA tournament so far?
What I make of it is Tennessee lost a big opportunity. And I felt like it's kind of a strange run for the Vols in that, they get past Duke when hardly anybody thought they were going to do it. Then all of a sudden the pressure gets back on, and the fact that they're favored against FAU and then, don't play well. And in Tennessee's defense here, FAU went out there and beat a very good Kansas State team the next round. That's an awfully good team from Conference USA. So I don't think it's an embarrassing loss or anything, but when you look at what the road would have been, I mean, my gosh, if Tennessee had played San Diego State in a Final Four game, do you think that the final score is over 40 for either team?
No, I don't. It's just absolute rock fight out there.
Take the under.
It has set basketball back years. Yeah, but the point is, you've got a team a lot like Tennessee and San Diego State that's going to be playing FAU, and it's kind of an indication that I think a team that played the way Tennessee did would have had a chance in this tournament, maybe more so than some other years. There's not a lot of good shooting going on. So, I feel like it was an opportunity for the Vols that they missed on a little bit.
Gentry Estes from the Tennessean. Gentry, do you view this basketball season for the Vols as a success?
Yeah, it's a good question. Because I was on another interview yesterday where I got a similar question. I didn't really know how to answer it because it's you can look at it one of two ways. You can look at it as, well, yeah, they got in by the time they got to the NCAA tournament. Zakai Ziegler's hurt. Seth Davis is sitting there on the selection show. 5 seconds after they're announced saying they're going to lose to Louisiana. So for them to get past the first 2 rounds and get to the Sweet 16 and play at Madison Square Garden, I mean, I don't feel like the tournament itself was a disappointment. But when you look back at late January, this is a team that was almost number 1 in the country. There was a lot of Final Four talk then about the Vols. They kind of, they just didn't improve over February. There were a lot of reasons for that. Guys get hurt. But I feel like from the standpoint of, this is a team that it seems like every year is a, 2, 3, 4, 5 seed in the NCAA tournament. Mm-hmm. And at some point, you need to be able to take advantage of that. And while I feel like this year probably more than the previous one, I think Tennessee fans were a little more prepared for how it ended this time. I don't think the expectations were quite the same. But when you get past Duke in the second round and you play defense the way they do, I think you thought you could reasonably expect to have a chance to really do something, especially in a regional where you look around and I'm not sure those other 3 teams were a lot better than Tennessee, but it didn't work out again.
So if we take a look at Vanderbilt and Tennessee, Vanderbilt took a huge jump just on the cusp of missing the NCAA tournament this year, but both teams, if there's not any crazy transfer portal news, could have a potential of having their solid backcourts back next year. So I'm going to ask you a question. You're going to have to choose the backcourt. So Vanderbilt with Ezra Mignon and Tyron Lawrence versus Zakai Ziegler and Meshack. Which one do you think will be the stronger backcourt heading into next year, Gentry?
I'd probably say Vanderbilt, just off the players you mentioned. But, in Vanderbilt's case, they have lost some guys in the portal already, just reportedly. And you need to – I think Lawrence is maybe going to test the NBA. So, you need to get those guys back. I think for Vanderbilt in particular, I think retention is going to be important here. This is a team that seems like every year takes a few months to find itself. And then when it does, it's playing wonderfully. That's kind of been the trend here with Stackhouse is that Vanderbilt's always playing its best at the end of the year, but it takes too long to get going. Vanderbilt is going to need to get those results in November, December, early January, and not try to desperately save it at the end the way they have here the last couple of years in order to get in the NCAA tournament. And I think to do that, they're going to need a little more retention. They're going to need guys back who are used to the system and aren't starting from scratch. And, the more guys they can get back, I think the better. In Tennessee's case, it'll be interesting to see what happens there because you have a lot of veteran senior type players who could potentially be back, but I maybe a new approach would be a little better at this point. That was a strange season, I thought, for Tennessee because, being up in New York, you saw 4 teams play that night, and 3 of those 4 teams were having a blast, right? They were having a lot of fun. They were playing their, that Kansas State-Michigan State game was phenomenal. And then Florida Atlantic playing the way they were, and it just felt like, Tennessee was the one team that just really wasn't having a lot of fun. And then once the game ended, there was tangible disappointment for sure with losing the game, but there seemed also kind of I'm not gonna say relief, but kind of a sense of satisfaction that there were a lot of comments of we did the best we could do with what we had, we maxed out what we had, and it's so I don't know. You kind of look at it and say maybe some new blood there wouldn't be the worst thing.
Gentry Estes from the Tennessean with us here on Robby and Rexrode. Gentry, great stuff as always. Really appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Gentry.
Take care, guys.
Absolutely. Gentry Estes with us on Robby and Rexrode. We'll take your thoughts, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. A lot to sort through with what Gentry had to say there. We'll get into some of that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5-106.3, The Game.
185! Every team needs a quarterback.
185!
That's why we have
Hasselbeck, bootleg, rollout, toss,
touchdown.
Tim.
You can run good plays at the right time.
ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck gives his expertise on all things NFL.
You evaluate players, and then you're turning them over to the coaching staff.
Every Tuesday at noon.
At the right time.
With Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. Tim on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Preds fans, Superbook wants to send one lucky fan a pair of tickets on the ice. Text the keyword Superbook, all one word, to 615-737-1025 for entry to win.
20 years ago, when Genesis Diamonds came to Nashville, this was one of the most expensive cities in America for diamond jewelry. Our radical approach and no middleman pricing changed that forever. And now we're doing it again, this time with lab-grown diamonds. We were shocked to find out what the other mall stores and the other big radio advertisers were charging. They sell their platinum 4-carat VS2 lab-grown earrings for $15,720. We sell them for $6,900. Their 3.08 carat lab-grown round diamond with G-Color VS2 clarity is $10,045. We sell it for $5,900. Looks like they might be going back to the old ways. If they're charging this much on lab-grown diamonds, kind of makes you wonder what else they're selling at the same outrageous markup. Nashville, we are not going backwards. At Genesis Diamonds, our non-commissioned trusted advisors are here to give you all the information with details you can trust and prices you can count on. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
312 Pizza Company is a proud sponsor of Nashville Sounds Baseball on 102.5 The Game.
Wendy's 2 for $6 lets you mix and match some of our best items, like Dave Single with a 10-piece crispy nugs, medium strawberry lemonade with a spicy chicken sandwich, spicy chicken with a Dave Single with a strawberry lemonade, strawberry lemonade, if you're into that. Chicken Sam, crispy nugs, strawberry lemonade, Dave's, nugs, Sam. Whew. Pick what you want at a price you want. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's 2 for $6.
For limited time, price participation may vary at U.S. Wendy's. On the card only. Single item at regular price.
What if I told you, in Iran, women are banned from going to soccer games?
Mom, take the ball. I love you.
For 43 years, Iranian women have fought back.
Police pushed us. Troops.
This is their story.
The joy was forbidden.
What is the meaning of that?
That is how they control you.
I'm Shimol Yai. Listen to the new 30 for 30 podcast, Pink Card. Available now.
Why have over 2 million people trusted their bath remodels to Bathfitter? When a normal day is anything but normal, we fit your schedule with our unique tub-over-tub process installed in just a day with no demolition. When high quality is the only quality that matters, we fit your standards. We've been remodeling baths for over 35 years, and every bath we install comes with a lifetime warranty. Get the bath you want in a day with quality that lasts a lifetime. Bathfitter, it just fits. Visit bathfitter.com to book your free consultation.
Anyone want to tell me what happened? Did you miss any of today's show?
It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry.
Subscribe to the Robby and Rexrode podcast on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast platforms, or by going to thegamenashville.com.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
You're listening to Robby and Rexrode on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Join 102.5 The Game and the Preds Energy Team at the Rusty Nail in Hermitage coming up on Monday, April 3rd. For the Preds Road Watch Party as the Preds take on the Dallas Stars. You can enjoy $3 two-lane beer drafts, a great local atmosphere with a large outdoor patio and volleyball courts, plus try some of their great food, especially the wings. That's 102.5 The Game and the Preds Energy Team at the Rusty Nail coming up on Monday, April the 3rd. We'll see you there for the Preds taking on the Dallas Stars. Speaking of the Preds, we'll have Preds General Manager David Poile coming up at 8:30. So looking forward to that conversation with him. Right now, taking your thoughts, 615-737-1025. Gentry Estes was with us in the last segment. It was an interesting question you put up about the backcourt with Vanderbilt and Tennessee. I mean, both of them, if everybody comes back, could have really intriguing backcourts next year. We'll see what Zakai Ziegler's recovery looks like with his ACL and when exactly he'll be ready to go from that standpoint. But honestly, like if Lawrence is back with Magnon, I might lean Vanderbilt too with the backcourt.
Yeah, Robby. This conversation sparked in my head, at least, when we were talking about Vanderbilt towards the end of the year and what a loss it was when Zakai Ziegler went down for Tennessee. And I remember when we were looking at this Tennessee team and thinking, okay, They have some older guys on this team who I don't think will take another year to come back. Like, I would assume Josiah Jordan-James, he's gone. I would assume Vescovi's gone. But, I mean, with college basketball now, some of those guys could come back or decide to enter the transfer portal. But, you know, if Vanderbilt can keep Ezra Mignon and Tyron Lawrence for another year together, I think the growth together, because Ezra Mignon was a transfer before this year started, the way those two were playing down the end of the season this year in the NIT, I mean, they could probably be the best backcourt in the SEC. I mean, you know, teams like Kentucky, they're going to have a whole new group of people in there. And just off of, you know, last year, this year, Alabama's going to have a lot of one-and-dones. I mean, I feel pretty confidently saying they could have one of the best backcourts in the SEC, which is huge. I mean, I think this is going to be a big year for Vanderbilt. We've discussed the, you know, just couldn't get over the hump to get in the tournament. They were playing, you know, great basketball towards the end of the year, but you realize now how much the preseason games matter, and you need to now adjust to the formula of if it's the net rankings, you know, conference play, non-conference play, because that's not changing. And as much as it sucks and we can say that Vanderbilt was a team that deserved to be in there, you now have to adjust whether you pick easier non-conference games and you just mark them off as wins. I know people are like, well, you know, it helps our team if we can play some more challenging opponents. But if you end up with a team like Grambling State, which we heard about all year long, even that should have been a cupcake, and you know, they didn't win. So I'm excited for this Vanderbilt team, but to that point, if they don't make the tournament next year, there'll be some murky waters over there because they have the talent to do so. I mean, they've showed that they can recruit the talent and put together a team. Jerry Stackhouse has showed that he can put together a team that can win in the postseason if maybe offer the opportunity to get into the tournament.
Well, I agree with all of that, and the tournament part of this for Vanderbilt, I said it the other day, like, they need to make the tournament next year, and I understand that the feeling on Jerry Stackhouse from the Alabama game this year where they got drilled 101-44 to the end of the season. I mean, it was pretty much an about face the way that people feel about him heading into this offseason. So all that's great. And you got momentum from that. That's awesome. You got to get in the tournament next year if you're Jerry Stackhouse, or some of these same conversations that we've had are going to find their way back in there. And look, I don't know that if they miss the tournament next year that Vanderbilt would fire him. I have no idea how they feel about that, but I can tell you the goodwill you've built up with the fan base with the way this season ends goes down the drain if you're not making the tournament next year. So that just is what it is on that standpoint. From the Tennessee side of things, it's an interesting dynamic because I agree with what Gentry said. Like, I think it's a huge missed opportunity after you took down Duke and the bracket opened up the way that it did, and you lose to FAU, and the path was there for you if you're Tennessee. Now, having said that, I also at the same time don't want to be disrespectful to FAU because they very well could go on to win the national championship here. They're obviously not a fluke. They're very good. I mean, they're in the Final Four. You don't just get to the Final Four. They're pretty darn good. And, you know, I don't want to take anything away from FAU either. Like, San Diego State, that's an intriguing matchup with them coming up. They could win that for sure, and they could be in the national title game. So it feels kind of like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth because I do look at it as a missed opportunity for Rick Barnes and the Vols here, while also recognizing that FAU is pretty darn good and maybe better than some people around here want to admit.
I agree, Robbie. And, you know, I think if you're a Tennessee fan and you look at, oh, that was the team that got to the Sweet 16, right? You celebrate those milestones in the NCAA tournament. There's a reason they give you a banner for the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight and the Final Four because those are all huge milestones. I mean, to even get into the tournament, it's incredibly hard. But I think when you look at the circumstances and, you know, the game itself, and I mean, it was somewhat of a close game, right? FAU ended up pulling away at the end, hitting some late shots, but it could have gone either way. And I think when you look at it, and maybe in years down the road, when you don't know about this FAU team, or maybe they do go on to win the national championship, you look at, oh, they lost to them? Like, there was an opportunity there to, beat them. And I think Gentry kind of put it perfectly because, you take a step back and you think, oh, well, Sweet 16, that's a success. But when you look at the circumstances and the way this team had been playing against Duke, they get some more time to rest. They're up in New York. And I look at it like the lights got too bright for them. I felt like, instead of, and Gentry bringing up, he was in New York, he said a lot of the teams looked like they were having fun and they were enjoying the opportunity to go out there and just play some basketball. And he said the Tennessee team just didn't look like that. So, was that a mentality going into the game? Why, they couldn't rise to the occasion? Even Rick Barnes said something after the game, like, we know our guys, we understand their body language. And when you're playing college basketball, you have to be able to perform when you get under the brightest light. So, yeah, it's frustrating because you added to the conversation of, okay, Rick Barnes in March.
Right.
It's added to that conversation, and you look at the East and you think you would have had to get through a very, very tough Kansas State team. I mean, we all know Marquise Noel, one of my new favorite players. But Elite Eight's only something that this program's done once, ever.
Yeah.
Period. So I think you do have to look at it from the standpoint of, okay, they did something that Tennessee basketball doesn't normally do, but you had the opportunity to do more.
Well, and now, like Gentry brings it up, it's an interesting thought. Like, does this set in motion a different approach or a different style or whatever you want to call it from Rick Barnes as they move forward here? I mean, look, it wasn't just Zakai Ziegler going down. We've talked about this. The offense was hit or miss all year. And look, you're going to have your off nights offensively. I mean, even Alabama had some off nights offensively. But the consistency with which they just would go through a 7-minute stretch where they looked like they had never played basketball together before out there was frustrating. And it's got to come from better guard play. You got to get, some more ball handlers other than just Zakai Ziegler next year. That's got to be a priority. Like, does Josiah Jordan-James come back? We got somebody on the text line right now saying you can find anybody that can get you 6 to 10 points and go 3 for 10 shooting. Like, he's got to shoot better if he does come back. Now, look, he defends really well, and Tennessee's hallmark is defense. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. Like, it's good to be good defensively, but there's got to be the offensive part of it that comes along with it. So, look, it's Rick Barnes, he's not in danger of losing his job right now.
No.
He's got another good recruiting class coming in. Tennessee will be good next year. But the same questions are going to be there once they enter the tournament next year that are always there. Can they put it together? And you hit on something that I think is really important. Like, it did feel like at times, both in the tournament, but really throughout the year too, like when some moments got big, they kind of shrunk away from them a little bit. Now, having said that, I mean, they took down Kansas. They took down Texas.
They're
just kind of the definition
Alabama.
of Jekyll and Hyde. So you don't really ever know what you're getting from them, and that's a problem. And that's something they got to figure out as they move forward here. Coming up next, we'll be joined by Predators general manager David Poile. We'll get his thoughts on the game tonight as the Predators look to take on the Boston Bruins and the slew of injuries that the Predators have been dealing with lately as well. All that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
I think it's a really good move.
TD, it's never the offseason for ESPN's Teron Davenport.
I mean, that's something you obviously have to look at.
He's always talking about what's next for the Tennessee Titans.
Quarterback is a really important thing that they have to get determined.
Check out TD, Mondays at 1, Thursdays at 3, and Friday mornings at 8:30. Plus, the Talkin' with TD podcast.
Looking forward to that.
TD is on 102.5 and 106.3, The Game.
The British invasion is coming. Queen plus Adam Lambert, the Rhapsody Tour. Brian May, Roger Taylor, plus Adam Lambert, performing rock's greatest anthems, live in Nashville. Bridgestone Arena, October 25th. Get tickets this Friday at 10 a.m. at livenation.com. For more, visit queenonline.com.
Al Gill here from my friends at Dunkin'. Warm up and feel the love with Dunkin'. Treat yourself and a loved one to a brown butter toffee hot or iced latte, which is superb paired with the bacon avocado tomato sandwich. Be sure to try the all-new stuffed biscuit bites. It's a warm biscuit dough wrapped around a mixture of bacon, scrambled egg, and cheddar cheese. Visit us at our newly remodeled Dunkin' on Briley Parkway in Nashville or the new Dunkin' in Mount Juliet and our other locations throughout Middle Tennessee. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer. Terms apply.
And now a special motorcycle weather report from Progressive.
Well, today you can expect lots of cloud cover with 0% chance of raining on your parade because you'll be riding your motorcycle vroom vroom. That rumbling low-pressure system beneath you should give way to a relaxing commute and the sudden urge to take the scenic route everywhere you go because, dagnabbit, you're having fun out there. That's your forecast. Back to you.
This has been a special motorcycle weather report from Progressive, where every day's a beautiful day to ride with coverage from America's #1 motorcycle insurer. Get a quote today and see what you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
O'Reilly. Don't risk getting stranded with a bad battery. Let the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts test your battery for free. If it needs to be replaced, get up to a $15 O'Reilly gift card after rebate with purchase of select Superstart batteries. For power, performance, and reliability, choose Superstart batteries at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message data rates may apply.
Nice run. It's great being back out on the mountain. You sort of disappeared for a while. Everything okay? Between you and me, it was lower testosterone. Lower T? Yeah. The doc told me once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone, and that can make it harder to stay in shape. That's why I started taking Nugenix Total T. It's made a huge difference. Oh, I've seen that on TV. Is it for real? For sure. It's the #1 doctor-recommended testosterone booster. It boosts free and total testosterone levels to help you get back the drive and energy from your youth. My wife, my boss, my kids, everyone has noticed a change in me. Do they still give out complimentary bottles for people to try for themselves? Yes, just send them a text.
Guys, text HEFTY to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. Nugenix is the #1 selling testosterone brand at GNC and Walmart. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back in shape fast, absolutely free. Text HEFTY to 321-321. That's HEFTY to 321-321.
102.5 and 106.3, The Game is live and local.
And now, let's meet the starting lineups.
Robby and Rexrode, 6 to 9.
You are talking about a team that's building a roster.
Chase and Michelle, 9 to 11.
He's still under contract.
It's not always X's and O's.
Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace, 11 to 2.
Trades, free agents.
Let's get it going. I think this is a good hire.
And Stillman and Company, 2 to 6.
I can give you one of the best coaches in the league.
And don't forget, we're your home for all things Nashville.
He scored!
Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3, The Game.
Hey, this is Pete Weber. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley alongside Michelle Knezovic, Nick Frazier here with you on this Tuesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Taking your thoughts, 615-737-1025. And as we do every Tuesday morning at 8:30, we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And welcome in Predators General Manager David Poyle, brought to you by Coleman Tractor, Tennessee's largest Kubota dealer. David, good morning. Obviously, an extremely difficult day in our city yesterday. We really appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning.
Well, thank you. And yes, extremely difficult day for the Nashville community and for those very unfortunate kids and adults. I have a grandson that's going to school, not there, but you just very protective of your family, and it's just a hard time to deal with. So my thoughts and prayers go out to everyone involved, and hope for better days ahead.
Absolutely, no question about that. Very well said. So, David, obviously you guys are in Boston tonight, taking on the Bruins. And we talked to you last week about the injury situation, and it's been kind of amazing to watch how the injuries have piled up, and now Matt Duchene added to the list as well. Obviously, you guys have no choice but to just deal with it as it comes here, but what's it been like kind of watching this unfold and watching the team, the way that your team has reacted to all of the injuries over the past couple of weeks here?
Well, it's been pretty unprecedented, actually. It's beyond being a situation where it's okay, well, you were having a hard time here, and we give another guy a chance. But with I believe now eight players out, followed by the trading deadline when we move four players, it's I guess you'd call it something close to a perfect storm, and they're going in the wrong way. So I guess you're trying to find the silver lining here. For me, it's been I've been very proud of how we've played, how we battled, how it doesn't seem to be any woe is me type of a attitude in our in our dressing room, and that next man up the mentality certainly is at play here. And we're finding out a tremendous amount about our team, all of our players, but especially some of these younger players that are being put into a position that neither they or we thought that would be their time this year. And a lot of good things are happening, and I think players are finding out what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, what they're going to have to do in the summer to give themselves a chance to maybe make our team on a full-time basis next year. So, certainly have one eye looking forward to the future here. I think we're developing some really good players. I think we're developing some really good depth. I feel next year that we're going to have some really tough decisions to make in terms of our roster decisions. And again, it's probably playing out, not the injury part, but it's probably playing out the way it should after you make some trades like we did in terms of taking a step backwards to hopefully take a couple of steps forward. So it's hard. I mean, tonight we're in Boston playing against the number one team in the league. This is going to be a huge, challenge to see how we can play against them, compete against them. It was a really good game on Sunday against Toronto, which they won 3-2, one of the best teams in the league. I thought we matched them, pretty much throughout the game. We're just having a real hard time right now scoring goals. I mean, we're in every game for the most part, but we just are really having trouble generating a lot of offense right now.
Well, David, to that point, I mean, look, Tyson Barrie has been around the league for a while, and I've watched him play. I guess I didn't realize fully how gifted he was offensively until he came here, and you're watching him on a daily basis. What have been your impressions of Tyson Barrie and his ability to create offense on the blue line back there?
Very much needed. And the blue line part of our offensive game this year has been really limited to primarily just Roman Josi. And that was an area that we were, really kind of hurting in. And with Tyson Barrie added to our team, I think it gives us a really much more balance on the back end in terms of, starting to produce some more offense. Unfortunately, Josi gets hurt, so now we don't have that 1-2 punch in our power play if we can either put them together or separate them, and also the same thing on 5-on-5 play. So hopefully when we get everybody back together, whether it's later this year or next year with a Josi Barrie combination offensively on the blue line, it probably should give us better balance going forward.
David Poile on with us. David, we mentioned how so many of these young guys have just stepped up, whether it be, moving off of some of the veterans during the trade deadline or whether it be some of the guys being injured. How beneficial has it been for you and also Barry Trotz in this transition period where you're seeing some of these young guys like Luke Evangelista be able to take on these NHL minutes and also produce at this level as you head into the draft and then when Barry ends up taking over in July?
Well, I think this is what it's all about right now, and I think our focus, although we have 10 games remaining, we still have a chance to make the playoffs, so we're playing it, as I say, game by game, but clearly a lot of our thought process is on the future. And if you just look at the forwards, I mean, I could say how we started the season and where we are. So, for example, tonight's game against Boston, you got Athanasov that's playing his fifth or sixth game in the National Hockey League, so he didn't start with this. You have Cody Glass playing number one center. He was in and out of the lineup at the beginning of the season. Now he's got our number one center. You got Phil Tomasino, who started the year in Milwaukee, who's now playing in our top six forwards. You've got a depth player like Kiefer Sherwood that has played, just a few games for us this year. Now he's playing regular, and he looks like he could be an NHL player. I think we found that out. Tommy Novak started the season in Milwaukee, and now is projecting to be one of our leading scorers and giving us some offense that we much needed. You've got Evangelista, who was his first-year player in Milwaukee. We brought him up with the idea of him playing one game here, and then his play and a combination of injuries has allowed him to play 10 or 12 games here. So it's on and on. I mean, I think you get the point that we've had a tremendous transformation from the beginning of the season to where we are today. And so by the time we get to next year and we go through the draft and what we get there, maybe it's a player like Reed Schaefer, who we got in the Ekholm deal. Maybe he comes into play in Milwaukee. Maybe he's got a chance to play here. And then you have whatever we do in the off season. So the Predators are, a little bit of a team in transition, and we're certainly going to go from one of the older teams in the league to one of the youngest teams in the league. And again, I think it's going to take a little bit of time, but I like a lot of the things that we've done with our team and what our chances are of, getting better quicker to get back to be a consistent playoff team, but more importantly, to be a team that actually can compete for the Stanley Cup.
I know you mentioned last week that when we were specifically asking about Cody Glass, that sometimes he can take, a step forward and then a step back, and his progression hasn't been as fast, but he's still progressed and has been able now to take on a lot of minutes for you all. How confident do you feel that Cody Glass could be a starting center for this Nashville Predators team in the future?
Well, I think last week or the week before I used sort of the tortoise versus the hare. We know who won the race. It's a great fable, but I think that's Cody Glass. So I think he, again, based on that, I'm not sure, that I can anoint him as clearly a top center, a number one center. I think he's still a work in progress, and he's still a very young player. So he's proven that he can play. We've given him that opportunity. I would like to see next year with more competition of Parson coming back and being healthy, Tommy Novak, whatever else we do at our forward position, to see what the competition is and see what this off season looks like for him. And I guess what I'm saying is like going into the Army. He still has to earn his stripes. I mean, we're bordering on possibly not being a playoff team, and he's one of the players that's a top 9 forward. And until we can be a competitive team with players like Cody, then they still have a lot to prove. Is really what I'm trying to say.
David, on the injury front, as you guys prepare for this week, is there any more clarity on in terms of Yossi and his injury, or Forsberg, or anybody you guys could be getting back soon at this point?
No, the only player, Yossi's on the trip, Boston and Pittsburgh. He's not going to play tonight, but I think the fact that he's on the trip would indicate that he's close. I'm not sure he's going to play in Pittsburgh, but he would be the closest one. Other than that, not this week for anybody else.
David, last thing for you here. Obviously, we know what Pekka Rinne has meant to this team and this franchise. What was it like being a part of that ceremony on Saturday with all the fans on the plaza and Pekka giving his speech with the statue unveiling? What was that like from your vantage point?
It was awesome. It was just sit back, I guess, as the elder statesman. I'm sitting there listening to him speak, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we brought him over. He was so shy. It was probably first time or second time in North America. He was hard to engage in a conversation. I mean, nicest guy. But then now I'm seeing him there he's with his wife, his son, and he's speaking. He has no notes, and it's just like, the boy to the man type of thing, in which, I've gone through a lot in my career in terms of all the players that have, come through Nashville. But, what a story, from a guy, undrafted player, to finally drafted in the 8th round, to being an underdog, to playing in Milwaukee for 3 years, and et cetera, to being the face of our franchise. So those are really cool moments for me, for sure, and hopefully for our fans.
Well, David, really appreciate your time. As always, thanks for being with us this morning, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, David.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, bye-bye.
Absolutely. Predator General Manager David Poile, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode, brought to you by Coleman Tractor, Tennessee's largest Kubota dealer. It is that time of the week. It's time for Pred's Pick to Click here on Robby and Rexrode. Be the first caller at 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Caller number 1, if you guess the goal scorer for the Predators tonight, will win a pair of tickets to a future Nashville Predators home game. We'll do that next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Want the latest on college football and Nashville sports?
They can be a fully formed model of what they're going to be offensively moving forward.
Join Outkick 360's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company.
You don't know what's going to happen with the roster or the team.
He'll bring opinions and charisma for a full half hour every week.
This is a good lesson about sports and what we think and what actually happens.
Chad Withrow on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, TJ Anderson here. With real estate listings, you have to read between the lines. Like waterfront property, more like a mosquito farm. Pride of ownership, they're really proud of the DIY job they did. Seller says sell. Really? I thought they just put it on the market for fun. My team at TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty is ready to help both home buyers and sellers decode the market. Oh, and if it says don't let this one pass you by, it's probably on wheels. Google TJ Anderson Homes, read our reviews, and see why we are referred for a reason. TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty, 615-432-2919.
Hey, Robbie Stanley, the tournament is heating up, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. That's because right now FanDuel is giving new customers a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Just go to FanDuel.com/Rob and sign up today to claim your no-sweat first bet. Then you can wager on everything from the money line to point spreads to which team will be cutting down the nets. I'm going with the Owls, baby. Give me FAU. I've been down on them all tournament. I've been a believer now, so give me FAU. All in an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use, so don't miss your shot at a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/Rob to sign up. You can make every moment more with FanDuel. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Hey, it's Mike from Newton Chevrolet GMC. Have you ever thought to yourself, buying a car online? That sounds like a nightmare. But fear not, my friends. With Newton FastPass, it's easier than catching a leprechaun. In fact, our system is so user-friendly that even a leprechaun can do it. And let me tell you, those little guys are notoriously bad with technology. Also, with Newton FastPass, you're practically guaranteed to get a great deal. It's like finding a four-leaf clover in a field of overpriced cars. And who doesn't love a good deal? I mean, I'd be willing to bet that even the most skeptical among us would feel lucky to snag a great deal on a new car. That's not all. When you use Newton FastPass, we'll throw in a free leprechaun to help you navigate the process. And trust me, these little guys know their way around a car deal. Just be sure to keep an eye on them because they can be a little mischievous. So what are you waiting for? Visit NewtonChevroletGMC.com and join the ranks of lucky car buyers. You might even feel like you're living in your own personal pot of gold. And remember, with Newton FastPass, you're always in luck.
312 Pizza Company is a family-owned restaurant located in the heart of Germantown, serving up authentic Chicago-style eats right here in Nashville. 312 Pizza Company only uses the best all-natural ingredients and makes everything in-house from scratch every single day. And trust me, you can taste the difference. They've got deep dish pizza, thin crust pizza, their Italian beef. You'll taste the freshness. Stop in for a pint of local beer and a slice of pizza, or order online at 312pizzaco.com. 312 Pizza Company, Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria.
A show that lives and breathes sports.
Focus in, focus in, focus in.
From the SEC.
Credit to the Alabamas, the Georgias, and the Ohio States of the world.
To the Preds.
They've been in a lot of really tight games, but they're not winning enough of them.
To the Titans.
He's talking about what this franchise has built over the years.
Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace.
What is this? Check it out.
Weekdays from 11 to 2 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
You're locked into Robby and Rexrode.
I have the radio on. I'm listening to
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. It's time for Preds Picks to click.
And a shot at the score.
Do you think you know who will score a goal in tonight's Predators game?
Little give and go.
Shoot your shot for a chance to win Preds tickets. Call 615-737-1025 now. Pick to Click is brought to you by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Visit tjandersonhomes.com to see why they are preferred so often. And by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Download their app today. It's Pick to Click, now on Robby and Rexrode.
And it is that time of the day, time for Preds Pick to Click here on Robby and Rexrode, presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty and Superbook Sports. We had some phone issues in Preds Pick to Click, so hit us back up, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Be the first caller at 615-737-1025 for your opportunity to get in there in Preds Pick to Click. If you missed it with David Poyle in the last segment, he said that Roman Josi is on the trip for the Nashville Predators. He will not play tonight against Boston. A chance he could play coming up against Pittsburgh, but no Roman Josi tonight. But good news nonetheless that he is on the trip. The Preds in action tonight taking on the Boston Bruins. and they are heavy underdogs in this one. You're talking about the number 1 team in the National Hockey League. Boston is 57-11-5 and are unbelievable on home ice, really unbelievable everywhere. They have 119 points, and this young group is in for quite the challenge tonight for the Nashville Predators. The standings in Pred's Pick to Click are as follows. I'm still in first with 16. The listeners with 13 correct answers. Joe with 11 correct answers. And Michelle Knezovic with 7. There seemed to be a little hostility.
I will stick to Pigskin Pick'em and weekend winners because Pred's Pick to Click, not my strong suit.
Well, we'll see how it goes today. Maybe today is the beginning of your comeback. Let's go back to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in Kevin. Kevin, good morning. Thanks for calling in. Who is your pick to click for the Nashville Predators?
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for taking my call. I got Matt Duchene.
Okay.
Going with now, Kevin. Matt Duchene is not going to play tonight. So, do you have anybody else?
He's not. Okay. Let's go with Cody Glass.
There we go.
There
Cody
you go.
Glass, the selection. Kevin, thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
So, Cody Glass, the selection. Remember, Forsberg out. Duchene's going to be out. They got a lot of people out right now. Roman Josi out tonight.
I was so used to Matt Duchene being an answer. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute, stop.
You do not want to pick him in this competition tonight. So Glass is off the board. Michelle, you are up next. Your pick to click for the Nashville Predators.
Ooh, okay. I haven't gone first in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see. I am going to go with Tommy Novak tonight.
Tommy Novak, the selection here in Pred's pick to click. I am up next. I will go. Man, it's tough.
I
know. You know what? I'm going to take a flyer. I will go with Kiefer Sherwood.
Oh, I like that pick, actually.
I will go with Kiefer Sherwood in the competition. Nick, do you have a selection in Pred's pick to click on behalf of Joe Rexrode?
You are picking for
Novak
Rex.
And Sherwood.
Rexrode, I'm doing this for you, buddy. I did have a pick. It was Tommy Novak, but I'm going to be a little different. I'm going to go with this is going to be crazy. I'm going to go with Jeremy Lauzon.
I like it. Jeremy Lauzon.
Action.
The selection.
Watch you get that for Rexrode.
Hey, this one's for you, Joe.
I like it. So Glass, Novak, Sherwood, and Lauzon selected. Lauzon perhaps for the first time in the history of the competition.
I think so.
But I'm interested to see if he breaks through tonight. Look, they don't have a lot of options. David Poyle said it there. I mean, they are on the struggle bus right now when it comes to offense. And it's not a surprise. I mean, look, they sold off Niederreiter. They sold off Granlund. And now Forsberg's been out, and Duchene's out, and Yossi's out. And you're just not going to generate a ton of offense when you're missing those guys from the lineup, and you're taking on the number 1 team in the National Hockey League tonight. So it's
on their home ice.
On their home ice. And look, this is a heck of a challenge. I was curious as to what the line would be. I was looking earlier on FanDuel. The Bruins are a minus 310 favorite tonight on FanDuel Sportsbook, which in hockey is just an astronomical line. Like it's a huge line. Like the over or the actual spread is still a goal and a half.
Okay,
but it's a heck of a money line for the Bruins tonight. So they are heavy favorites coming into this game. This is going to be a huge challenge for the Predators tonight to win this game. And like David Poyle said, I mean the playoffs, for all intents and purposes, to me, and I could be wrong, they're 5 points out. So it's not like they're forever away from a playoff spot, but based on their schedule coming up starting tonight and throughout the rest of the regular season here, Winnipeg has some softies coming up. I mean, the playoffs are all but gone at this point for the Predators.
Yeah, I mean, basically everything would have to go right and then everything go wrong for those other teams like Winnipeg, even the Kraken, for them to find themselves into the playoffs. But when we just talked to David Poyle, he was kind of mentioning all these young guys, and we've talked about the injuries and between the trade deadline. So Adam Vingan put this out yesterday. This is really interesting. This was the Predators' opening night lineup. Forsberg, injured. Granlund, traded. Duchene, injured. Nino Niederreiter, traded. Johansson, injured. Sherwood. Trennan, Sissons, Jeannot, traded. Smith, Glass, Tolvanen, waived. Josi, injured. Carrier, injured. Ekholm, traded. McDonough, Boro, injured.
Yep.
Fabro and Saros. So, I mean, if you look at that, I mean, coming out of it, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys who they still have. It's incredible. I mean, if you kind of look at it that way too, and you put that in perspective, the fact that they are still chasing a playoff spot is pretty remarkable. It'll be interesting though. I mean, the Bruins have already secured a playoff spot, so what they look like tonight? Are they gonna, full blazing out there tonight? I don't know. But tall task still.
It's a very tall task, no question about it. 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Let's get some tickets to get away. See Janet Jackson at Bridgestone Arena coming up on May the 4th. Well, let's do a trivia question. Hit up our text line. Don't call in. Hit up the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. If you could tell me who scored the first goal of the season for the Nashville Predators this year. If you can tell me who scored the first goal of the season for the Nashville Predators this year, hint, it was not on this continent. It was on a different continent. If you can tell me the goal scorer, the first person to do that correctly will win a pair of tickets to see Janet Jackson coming up at Bridgestone Arena on May the 4th. 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. As we wrap up here today, we've talked about it a few times here on the show, but just worth reiterating. Just a terrible day in our city yesterday. Our prayers are with the families that were affected yesterday at the Covenant School. Just heartbreaking to watch yesterday, all of that unfold. We've had people texting us about it all morning, just their experiences of watching this, or people that they've known that are affected by this, and it's just a really awful situation. And obviously you're never prepared for something like this, and in our job, not prepared to talk about something like this, but it's just one of those things that was truly horrifying to watch unfold yesterday. And like I've said a couple of times on the show so far today, our job now as a community is to love on these people and to help them through the most difficult time of their lives. And there have been comments made today to that regard on the text line. It really enjoyed hearing from all of you today on the text line with your thoughts and your prayers and your considerations for the family. As we've talked about, shout out to Metro Nashville Police Department for their response time in this situation yesterday. And look, you're never prepared to absolutely or to talk about something like this, but sometimes life gets in the way. It's been really weird kind of to do a sports show today. In the midst of this, we've talked about planning the show yesterday. It was a really difficult thing to do, but our prayers as we continue to move through here will be with the family, will be with the first responders that were affected, the children that went through that yesterday and had to experience all of that, and just a really tough day. So wanted to kind of end the show by reiterating that that's where our focus is, and that's where our prayers will be as we move forward here. That's going to do it for us today here on Robby and Rexrode. We will be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m., so looking forward to getting into the Preds against the Bruins tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. as well. Chase and Michelle is coming up next. You're listening to 102.5, 106.3, The Game.